Well, that's one that will be coming over there. Right, that's what it should be. That's what it should be. You know, but it shouldn't be down in the middle of the residential. Oh, see two.
Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. Are you set up and ready to go? Same with Kathy?
I'm
I
ready.
think, yeah, I'm ready as well.
Awesome. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Planning and Zoning meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission this evening, April 7th, 2021. I'm Commissioner Hanson, Chair of the Planning Commission. I'll be conducting the meeting. Tonight, our agenda will start with an invocation by Commissioner Shield, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Musso. Commissioner Shield.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the blessings that we have to live in this great city and this country that we have. We're thankful for the opportunities that are presented before us. We pray that we can be wise in what we do. We pray that we can have a meeting this night that will be productive and that we can keep our emotions in check. We pray that we can be good examples and help one another. We pray that we can, as a planning commission, have unity. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, thank you for that. Before we begin our meeting, there's a few people we'd like to recognize in the audience this evening. We have a new city attorney here in Washington, Thad Siegmiller down here. Welcome. Thank you very much for attending this evening. And I saw Councilman Ivy here. I believe he's in one of the in the rooms outside. Oh, right there in front of me. Let me see. Yeah, he looks the same without my glass. There we go. I looked right over the top of you. Councilman Ivy, thank you for attending as well. The first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the agenda, item 1A, and I'll look for a motion once you've had a chance to look at that.
This is Commissioner Musso. I make a motion that we approve the agenda for April 7th, 2021 as constituted.
Ms. Shield, I would second that.
I've got a first and a second of approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 2A, approval of the minutes, excuse me, from March 17th, our previous meeting. Once you've had a chance to review those, or if you have any comments for Kathy. Otherwise, I look for a motion on that as well. She did. I saw the revisions here from Equally. Saw those. Just looking for a motion once you guys have had a chance to.
This Commissioner Shield, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 17th, 2021.
Second that.
I got a first and a second. Approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 2A. Item number 3, this is our opportunity to declare abstentions or any conflicts that we might have with any of the agenda items. Commissioners, do you have anything this evening? Kathy, this is Commissioner Hanson. Get your pen ready. I live within a mile. I do not have a financial interest in any of these, but I do live within a mile of 4B, 4C, 5A, 5B, 7A, 8A, and 8B.
Likewise, this is Sheil.
I have noted those. Anybody else have any abstentions for this evening?
This is Commissioner Anderson. I live within a mile of 6A.
As long as nobody has a financial interest in these items, I would hope and expect all of us can participate in this evening's discussion and voting. All right. We'll move on to item 4A, the first item agenda this evening. This is consideration and recommendation to the City Council for the Brio Phase 3G final plat located approximately Sunstone Way and Red Coral Court. The applicant is Cole West Home. Drew, I'll turn the time over for staff report.
Hey, Eldon's going to take that for you tonight, so
All right.
that's all right.
It's all you.
Thanks, guys. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat for the Brio Phase 3G subdivision. It's located at approximately Red Coral Court and Sunstone Way. The particular subdivision is proposing 11 single-family detached patio dwelling units in an area of coverage consisting of 8.233 acres. The specific location of the subdivision is zoned planned community development, residential PCDR. The preliminary plat was approved back on November 12, 2020. Staff has reviewed the requested proposal and the proposed final plat conforms to the approved preliminary plat. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the final plat for the Brio Phase 3G subdivision to the City Council based on the following standard findings and subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Eldon. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? And if not, any questions for the applicant? If not as well, I'll look for a motion to approve or deny item 4A.
This is Commissioner Musso. I make a motion that we approve the final plat for Brio 3G subdivision located at Red Coral Court and Sandstone Way, with the applicant being Cole West Homes. And that's subject to all the 5 conditions as outlined by staff.
It's Commissioner Van. I second that.
The only correction to that, Kathy, would be Sunstone Way instead of Sandstone. I think you
Excuse
might have
me.
meant to say that. Just wanted to make sure. I've got a first by Commissioner Musso, a second by Commissioner Fitzamfu. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzamfu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Item 4A passes. Move on to City Council with a recommendation for approval. Item number 4B. This is consideration and recommendation to City Council for the Warner Gateway Phase 4 final plat located at approximately Marlowe Way and Piper Place. The applicant is Sean Coarusso. Sean, if I mispronounced your name, I apologize. Drew or Eldon, staff report, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Eldon's going to report this one as well. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat for the Warner Gateway Phase 4 subdivision. It's located at approximately 4600 South and Loop Drive. This particular phase is proposing 36 lots that range from 0.14 to 0.23 acres. The specific location of this subdivision is zoned R16, which is a residential 6,000 square foot minimum. The preliminary plat was approved back on November 10th of 2015. Staff has reviewed the requested proposal and the proposed final plat conforms to the approved preliminary plat. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the final plat for the Warner Gateway Phase 4 subdivision to the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions, all of which are the standards.
Thanks, Eldon. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant this evening?
The only question I have, this is Commissioner Musso, is that isn't all the infrastructure in before we give final plat approval? Or is no? I mean, the roads and everything done? Or is that, it doesn't matter if it's not done yet? It's a question.
Brandon, would you like to take that, or Drew, or Eldon for that matter?
I don't mind. I'll just jump in real quick because I don't want to put Eldon too much on the spot. You can actually apply for a final plat after your construction drawings are approved. We just will not record it or sign the final until you either bond or have all the improvements, streets and everything in. So there's oftentimes I will tell a developer, go ahead and get it, your final plat through the process. And I'd rather, they have 12 months to get it recorded. So I'd rather have it sit there, collect dust for them so they're not waiting on us, because it generally what happens is developer will come in and then all of a sudden they want to get this final plat and man, they just have to hurry because they're ready to sell lots, on it. And it's always at the tail end of everything. So I've told them, hey, help yourself out, get your plats approved a little sooner, let it sit in our office. Then it goes through our engineer has his time to review it at the end. The city attorney has his time at the end. You're not waiting on them to try to sell lots. So, I guess the quick answer is to that, Commissioner Musso, is no, that doesn't have to be. It's just we won't record it or sign off. We sign 3 of the things at the bottom, the signatures, and we won't sign those off and let them record it unless all that's been taken care of. I hope that helps you with that question.
Yeah, so when it's all done, Drew, then they just notify you guys and then you have the inspectors go out and look at it? Is that how the procedure works? And then you sign off on it?
Yeah, because Public Works is working with them, really closely on final plats. Brandon and his guys are in there. In fact, he'll step up there, but that's generally what happens. They know all the process right at the end. Go ahead, Brandon.
Brandon Wright with Public Works. There's a final inspection, but there's also a bonding process that has to take place before we actually sign the plat as well.
Thank you.
Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. The only question that I have on this particular project, is there any active discussions with the BLM on that entrance at the north, or is that something that's dead in the water till some point in the future? Possibly.
They're still going to use that on the BLM, but it's not going to be a permanent road. We're actually pushing for the one down south. And that one there is contracts between the property owners, between the Larsons and the developer to get the road to the south done. In fact, I wouldn't let them bring this forward. You'll see more activity on that road going out of the south toward the farmhouse and stuff as that second access actually.
Yeah.
But the BLM one is going to be exactly what you see today. It's just going to stay just like that because it's the BLM.
Yeah. What's the process they have to go through if they wanted to try to get that as an entrance?
Well, the BLM would have to give it up because they don't let people put roads across their property. So they'd put it up for sale. And then whoever, we would then push whoever that, even if it was us, because we might be interested in that piece at some time, or whoever it is, that would be the roadway. We would just make them design around that or make it line up a little better. And that would be, before we let them develop, that would be, one of the first things on the list we told them they got to take care of.
Yeah. As somebody that lives proximity to that, and maybe a collection of voices from some of my neighbors, the south entrance, while it's appreciated, it doesn't seem realistic to them or us that people are going to drive south to turn around and drive north. And so there's a lot of questions surrounding that north entrance. And I'll just let them know that's something may never happen. Not that we don't appreciate the south entrance. I don't want it to be that way, but it doesn't seem logical people will drive that way, for the record. Commissioners, do you have any other questions on this particular item for staff? If not, I look for a motion for item 4B.
This is Shill. I would propose that we forward this to the city council for approval of the final plat for the Warner Gateway Phase 4 subdivision located at approximately 4600 South Luke Drive. This is item 4B with the conditions, the 5 conditions that staff has put on.
Commissioner Anderson, I second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Shield. I have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzampu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm a nay. That motion passes. Item 4B will recommend to City Council for approval. Item number 4C, consideration and recommendation to City Council for the Mustang Valley final plat located approximately 3925 South Washington Fields Road. The applicant is Goldline Homes LLC. Staff, Eldon, will you be taking most of these? I don't want to not call on you when it's appropriate.
Just the next few.
Okay. Eldon, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Commissioner. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat for the Mustang Valley Phase 1 subdivision. It's located at approximately 3925 South Washington Fields Road. This particular phase is proposing 46 units. The zoning designation at this particular location is Planned Unit Development, PUDR. The preliminary plat was approved back on July 8th, 2020. Staff has reviewed the requested proposal and the proposed final plat conforms to the approved preliminary plat. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the final plat for the Mustang Valley Phase 1 subdivision to the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions, both of which are the standards. And we'll take any questions at this time.
Thanks, Eldon. Commissioners?
This is Commissioner Musso again. So this is going to be, and we talked about this, I know, way back in July, but that's a public street that's it's going to connect into Steeplechase and then run down Mustang Valley over to, I believe, over to Freedom Village or whatever that road is. Are they going to block this up at Steeplechase, between Steeplechase and this subdivision until these units are built? Or is it just until they get the road paved? Do we have somebody here? Step up to the mic, please.
When you come up here, Kathy's listening and making notes, so please make sure you state your name and speak as clearly and loudly as you can.
Yep, it's Colin Daly. It's Goldline Home. There's just a little bit of a typo there.
I thought so. I saw the street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Goldline Homes. Yeah. So it's been our understanding is that we need to keep that barricaded the entire time. So that's our plan, is to keep that road closed off. So there's no public access, but keeping it within the standards so that for fire department, things like that, they can get through if they need to.
So when are you going to open it?
I don't know. Actually, I probably need to pass the baton off to Public Works on that, because I don't think that we're opening it up, are we? Yeah, it's going to stay permanently closed.
It's going to stay permanently closed on a public road?
No, there's a condition. We'll go back and find that condition for you, gentlemen. It has to stay closed. It's in the minutes of the PUD, but it can't stay permanently closed.
Okay.
But,
Maybe it's by the
it'll open up, and I'll go back and read it. We'll open it up at the time that in the PUD approval stated it would open.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Which makes
Okay.
sense.
And that makes sense to me too.
But is that for both phases or just for phase 1? Do you have any idea?
I think phase 2 has to be completed, actually.
Okay. Because I remember we had a lengthy discussion about that,
Yeah.
because that's basically the only cut through until they get, what, 4250 done.
Yeah. And to us, it doesn't make a difference if we wanted it open or closed, but so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Colin, before, I should have said something before you walked away. This is Commissioner Hanson. Kathy, Colin, just have a question. When you're building these, can you tell me in what order you're building the buildings, or will they all be built at once?
So what we're working on right now is 19 through 24. And then we'll switch over and go 29 through 34, or sorry, 19 through 24, then 29 through 34. And then we'll bounce across and go 13 through 18. And
Okay.
then start working our way towards 71 through 76, 25 through 28. And then finish up with 35 through 40, and then work our way 8 through 1 and down to that 25 through 28.
Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 will be toward the end of the
So they're
development.
actually, will probably, they'll most likely be done in phase 2.
Okay.
Those will be.
All right, perfect.
What's your projected timeline?
For entire subdivision,
Well, for this phase.
so we are looking around probably around September, October, November, right there. Our estimated completion time on like a building, I'd have to do the math, but on a sixplex, we're about 115 days for completion date. So.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Commissioners, any other questions for staff or the applicant this evening? Item 4C. If not, I look for a motion.
It's Commissioner Van. I recommend approval to City Council for final plat for Mustang Valley Phase 1 subdivision located at approximately 3925 South Washington Fields Road with the conditions outlined in the staff report.
This is Commissioner Musso. I second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fitzonfu. I have a second by Commissioner Musso. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzonfu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. Item 4C will be moved to City Council with a recommendation for approval. We'll now turn to item 5A, which is a plat amendment. This is also a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council for the cottages at the village at Stuckey Farms, amended and extended final plat located at approximately Cattail Lane and Farmhouse Drive. The purpose of the amendment is to increase the size of Lot 1, eliminating Lot 9, to increase the adjacent lot widths and extend the phase boundary. The applicant is Carl Larson. Eldon, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Commissioner. The applicant is requesting approval of an amended preliminary plat for the cottages at the village at Stuckey Farms Phase 1 amended and extended subdivision located at Cattail Lane and Farmhouse Drive. The reason for this amendment and extended request is to increase the size of Lot 1, eliminate Lot 9 to increase the adjacent lot widths, and extend the phase boundary. The open space common area has been expanded adjacent to lots 5 through 8 to allow for more amenities, landscape to be installed. Staff has reviewed the proposed amended and extended final plat and finds it conforms to the original PCD zoning of this development. The subdivision also remains in compliance with the subdivision ordinance of the city. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the amended preliminary plat for the cottages at the village at Stuckey Farms Phase 1 amended and extended subdivision based on the following original findings and subject to the following original conditions. all of which are the standards. And we'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Commissioners, I'll turn the time over to you for any questions for staff or the applicant. This is Commissioner Hanson. The only question I had was to make sure that the increase in the size of lot 1 is still adhering to whatever city standard setbacks that we have in that area for that particular unit.
It is correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. That one, I thought it was weird. Commissioners, if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion. If there are questions, I'll give you time. Oh, let me back up. I apologize. This is a public hearing. At this time, Commissioners, I will open this to a public hearing on item 5A. If there's anybody that would like to speak, please approach the microphone, make sure that you state your name and speak as clearly as you can so Kathy can understand it and put it in the notes. Is there anybody here in the chambers or Eldon? Are there any public comments that were submitted on item 5A?
Commissioner, we did not have any submissions on this.
Okay, and it looks like nobody here in the chambers is interested in speaking on 5A. I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Sheila, I'd second that.
Got a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, at this time, if you have any comments or questions for staff or applicant. This time I'll also look for a motion. Oh, I do have a motion by Van and I have a motion by Commissioner Shield that we'll adhere to. There was no changes from the motion. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzamfu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Item 5A passes unanimously. We'll send it to City Council recommendation for approval. Item number 5B was something that we had tabled from March 17th. This is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council for the Crossroads Phase 4 preliminary plat amendment located approximately Farmhouse Drive and Stookie Farms Parkway. The purpose of the amendment is to eliminate 2 lots within the final phase of Crossroads, allowing for the lots around the cul-de-sac to increase in size. Also, a gate has been added to the south intersection of Farmhouse Drive and Resolution Circle, reducing the road to a 36-foot private street section. The applicant is South Landing LLC, Carl Larson. Eldon, I'll turn the time over to you.
Drew's gonna take this report.
I knew it was coming. Drew, I'll turn the time over to you.
We're just doing that to keep you on your toes, right?
I'm just gonna stop calling you out, either of you. I'll just
No,
say-
you're, yeah, just say staff and you're covered. I just thought I'd finish this because I started it. So anyway, I'll be brief and then I'm going to invite Brandy on. So I'm telling her to get her voice ready. But as for staff, this item was tabled at the March 17th meeting. As stated, the Planning Commission wanted the commissioners asking the applicant to provide information concerning the maintenance and responsibility of the gated community portion of this amendment, including the gate and the private street themselves. The applicant will provide that information at the meeting tonight. So Brandy, I hope you're ready with that information. Are you there? I saw her name on my thing, so I'm just, Brock, is there a problem getting Brandy through?
She's on the call, but I'm not getting any audio from her.
Okay. Until she tries, so we're not going to sit here with dead air, council. I know that what Brandy told me is that she got the information back from the developer that the people that live within the gated part will be responsible for the gate and the maintenance on the road. So those lots 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, and 31 will be responsible for and have maintenance directly of the gate and the road themselves. That's what I was informed. And I'll make sure if Brandy doesn't get on, as this goes to council, I will verify that for sure. If you move it forward, but that was good news that they just said, no, the people that, those 8 lots will be responsible for the putting in and the maintenance, not the HOA.
Commissioner Hanson, just to make sure I got my numbers correct, only the 8 lots inside the gate will be responsible for that. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Hey,
Drew, can you hear me now?
Oh, there she is. Yes, Brandy, we can. Please jump in.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. I believe Carl's team is also on the call. Can you see them on there?
What's the names?
It would be Holton, Jepson.
Okay, he's supposed to be on, yes. And
Yeah.
who else?
Either Derek or Carl themselves.
No, we just have Holton's name is on here. So Holton, are you there?
Holton's here, Derek's here, and Carl's here.
Okay, you guys go ahead and tell the commissioners about the gate and the 8 lots and the private street then.
Really quick, this is Commissioner Hanson. Drew, before Holton, you guys, Derek and Carl, before you, we give you a chance to speak this evening. The reason that this came up from us to table it was a little bit unique in that night and the previous meeting to that. We were dealing with another situation in the city of a development that they were trying to privatize a road and some of the houses out within a subdivision. And it created some conflict that we're trying to, at every possible turn, make sure that that's not the case again in the future. And yours just happened to hit on a night where it was sensitive to us, and that's why the questions came up. So we're happy to hear what you have to say this evening. So we just don't have that as a problem in the future in this development. And that was the reason that it was tabled. But thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Okay. In the situation, it's just like Drew spoke. Those lots will maintain within their HOA standards the commitment to cover that asphalt and that maintenance and the maintenance of the gate itself alone. It will not be passed on to the master association. It will remain within and put on those individuals.
Will those lots also be required to adhere to the standards of the building around the houses as well? Same roof, same color scheme, all that?
Yes. I don't know if you've noticed, but Crossroads has a little bit looser standards than some of the others. There's a wider variety of homes in Crossroads versus, say, the homesteads or the cottages, but they still have to meet design guidelines. They still have to pass it through our planning team, and we have to approve those designs.
Commissioner Hanson, Derek, thanks for that. The question, the issue that came up before was different roof. They were adding different roofs on homes within the subdivision that wasn't allowed. And so that's why I asked that, just to make sure. Is that something that will be written in the CC&Rs for that side of the road, that development? Or
Most definitely.
Okay. All right.
This is Commissioner Musso. I was out there this afternoon and just looking at it. Do you guys have soil issues out there? Because they are moving a ton. I mean, well, thousands of cubic yards of dirt, more than a ton, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, the majority of the soils right in there are originally considered collapsible, but what we do is we go in and mitigate it with ponding. So what they do is they over excavate it, they fill the ponds with water twice, mix those soils in, compact it back up, and then they're actually some of the very best soils in the entire area. It's basically a straight 97% compaction right then.
Yeah, thank you. I assumed it must have collapsible soil because, like I said, they're just moving a lot of dirt. So thank you.
Yeah, most of Washington Field south of like Staley Farm and that has that same type. As we get farther to the south, we don't have that issue as much, but we've done that on almost every lot that we've had in here from the meadows going through so far. So it's a very proven system.
Doesn't look like there's any other questions from our side. Drew, it looks like I need to open this up for public comment again. Is that correct?
Well, because we did the public hearing last time, I only want you to open it up to anybody that wants to comment on the comments they gave you tonight, not on the whole thing. Does that make sense? Because
Yes.
once you close that public hearing before and coming back with, because you tabled it, you can really only talk about the comments about them maintaining the gate and maintaining the street. So
Okay.
yeah, I would go ahead and do it, but that would be all that should be talked about.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public comment this evening for anybody that has a comment with consideration to the maintenance of the gate and the roads inside the preliminary plat of phase 4. And or if there's any comments that were submitted electronically. It appears nobody here in the council has a desire to speak. Is there anything, Drew, that was submitted possibly, just so I don't ignore it?
No, we had no comments submitted, I think, on any items, but I don't think any on this one for sure, but we'll check each one as we go.
Okay, perfect. At this time, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Commissioner Musso. I move that we close the public hearing.
Commissioner Van, second that.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is closed. At this time, I'll open up for the commissioners for any comments or questions to staff or the applicant on the phone. If there's not, I look for a motion on item 4B, or sorry, 5B, excuse me.
This is Commissioner Musso. I make a motion that we approve the amended preliminary plat for the Crossroads Phase 4 subdivision located at approximately the intersection of Resolution Circle and Farmhouse Drive, and pass that on to the city council for approval based upon the outlines and conditions. Now, wait a second, did I screw that up?
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
It's Commissioner Van, second that.
I've got a first by Commissioner Musso. I've got a second by Commissioner Fitzampu. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzampu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Item 5B, we'll pass along to City Council with approval, a recommendation for approval. Item number 6A is a preliminary plat. It's a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for the Lost Chaparral Heights preliminary plat located approximately east end of Lost Ridge Drive. The applicant is Yankee Heights LLC, Kent Rasmussen. Drew, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, guys.
This is Eldon's.
All right, guys, come on.
The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the Chaparral Heights subdivision located at approximately 1150 East Lost Ridge Drive. The applicant is proposing 4 lots on an area coverage of 8.53 acres. The zoning designation at this particular location is single-family residential 15,000 square foot minimum lots. The surrounding zoning is R110 to the west and open space to the east, west, and south. These parcels were recently rezoned into the R115 zoning designations. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed and recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined as our standards, along with conditions 13 through 18, which state number 13, subdivision will have an HOA to maintain common detention area and LID features. Number 14, rock walls shall match surrounding landscape colors. Condition 15, drainage swells above lots 2 and 3 shall have liner membrane as per engineering design recommendations. 16, any alternative rock wall designs constructed eastwardly of lots 2 and 3 shall be submitted to the city for approval. Condition 17, a geotechnical investigation report shall be carried out for each lot individually. And lastly, condition 18, safety fences should be placed at the end of the no disturb areas at time of construction. And we're happy to answer any questions at this time.
Commissioners, I'll open up the time to ask questions for staff or the applicant, well, staff at this point. Eldon, I'll throw this one at you because you're the last one I heard speaking. A little bit, this is Commissioner Hanson, could you explain a little bit more on item number 16, any alternative rock wall designs constructed eastwardly? I would think those would be highly visible. Maybe they wouldn't be, but they'd be blocked by the homes. Can you tell me a little bit about what we're looking for from a city on that particular item, like what that means in visual?
Yeah, you bet. We just want to make sure that it blends in and has continuity with the existing surroundings.
It would be at the very top of this project then, correct? The furthest point up the hill.
Correct. Yeah, far east. Yes.
Okay.
So this is Commissioner Musso. So where lots 55, 56, and 57 are in, as well as lot 36, how far up vertically are they going to go before they start leveling out for pads 1 and 4? I mean, are they going up 15 feet vertically and then start to level it out? Because right now there's a significant cut in that hill. And by the time you sit there and cut out another, well, quite a bit of dirt and quite a bit of soil, I'm just afraid that you're going to have such an eyesore up there, even with retaining walls and everything else, that it's not going to be very aesthetically pleasing. So I'd be interested to know how far vertically they're going to go up and then flatten out, and then how far vertically they're going to go up for lots 2 and 3 also. And I'm assuming the developer's here, so he can answer those questions, Eldon.
While you're making your way up, Mr. Developer, I have an additional question. It's exactly the same lines as how far could we possibly see it on the most easterly side, the higher end? Is there any chance that that would be higher than the home itself?
Okay, I understand. I think I
I'm
understand.
saying
the
when we look
question.
from
Yeah.
the road, we'll see the home. The furthest point up that hill is going to be a retaining wall of some sort. What size will that look like, I guess, is my question.
Well, I got a question too. Is there going to be scarring there, or are you going to put a rock wall there so there's no scar on the
All very good questions. Yeah. So my name is Rick Meyer with Bush and Gudgel. I'm the engineer for the project. And to answer Commissioner Musso's question, so from phase 5 of Chaparral Ridge, that's the 4 or 5 lots that are right along the base of the hill there. From there, it'll be 20 feet. So 2 10-foot walls from those yards to the first pads there. Drew's circling them right there. Right now, I believe it's lots 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right.
I think it's 1 and 4.
1 and 4. Yeah, you're right. The west lots 1 and 4. So really, it's between lot 4 and the west. The lots west of that will be 20 feet, and then from those 2 west lots 1 and 4 to lots 2 and 3 will be another 15 feet. So we're climbing, just stepping it up the hill there, and then on the east side of lots 2 and 3, there will be another retaining wall. And then a slope on top of the retaining wall there. And so to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, was it you, Commissioner Shields, you were asking about that slope at the top. The Hillside Committee also had a big concern about, we're taking this scar at the bottom, are we just moving it up the hill kind of thing, right? Making it more visible.
Right.
And their statement was we need to blend it in with the surrounding materials, so that it doesn't look like a scar. Right now, it looks like a scar because everything around it is kind of tan and brown, and then you've got a big red scar right there. So that's kind of, it doesn't look good, right? But we're gonna blend it in to make it look like the other surrounding hillside kind of a thing.
So are you going up 20 feet from the back of the property line where it exists now on lot 55? Or because right now there's a retention wall of about 4 or 5 feet, it looks like, of rock.
So that 4 or 5 feet is part of that 20 feet.
Of the 20.
Yeah. So we're not 20 feet on top of the wall where it's at. It's 20 feet from the backyards.
So potentially if somebody builds a 2-story home on 55, 56, or 57, it's going to
mask
hide
a lot of it. Yeah.
It's going to hide most of it.
Yep. Yep. And to also answer Commissioner Hanson, you asked about the scar above. Those homes, I would imagine if I'm going to buy one of those homes, it's probably going to be at least not at least, it'd be about 2 stories, right? And so much of that scarring and the retaining walls will be, covered by the wall.
It depends on how wide the house is, because you got a
Yeah,
lot
it
of room
does.
there. I mean, you look at how long you got 534 feet on lot number 1.
Yep. But whatever is covered by or masked by the house.
Yeah, but your average house is only about 70 feet deep, typically at most. So you're going to have a huge.
I doubt this will be an average house.
Well, I'm not obviously, because you're going to have a $500,000 plus lots. They're going to have to be $2 million homes to justify the lot.
But also it's kind of from the perspective too, right? Down below, if you have any kind of house up there, it masks a higher elevation than when you're up higher in elevation.
What I'm hoping to not see, and the purpose for my question is when you're driving from anywhere down where all the traffic is down low and you look to the right or left, whichever direction you're going, and we see those big homes, because they're going to be way up on the hill for sure. We already can see that as a commission. Outside of that, is it going to be even more so after those homes that we see more scarring? So I would hope that we don't see any scarring. The house will cover some of it, if not all of it on particular portion, but there's no way it's going to cover the full, 1.5 acres or 2 acres or whatever it is. I would like to see no scarring up there. And I don't know how you do that, but that's the reasons for my questioning. And I'm putting it in the notes so city council can take a look at that.
And I think part of what we're saying is it won't appear as scarring up on the hill because it'll blend in with the surrounding hillside.
Okay.
So
won't the wall go up to, I mean, you can't have it stop and have a scar and then have your wall underneath it. The toe is going to have to come down to the wall, correct? And it'll be a slope from the top of the wall.
So we've got a retaining wall from the upper pads, those 2 eastern pads, a retaining wall, and then another cut slope up to the existing ground, a 2-to-1 slope. And so it will be a cut slope up on top of the retaining wall. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, but it's not going to be a straight cut. It's going to be more of it'll be a gradual slope.
It'll be a gradual slope. Yeah.
So question for Commissioner Anderson. So I'm looking here at lot 1 and lot 2, and so what's the finished elevation? I mean, right now we got the existing elevation, and it looks like you drop like 10 feet from the left to the right. I'm assuming that you're going to make it flat.
Yeah.
So
flat.
When it's flat, how big is your wall on the back of each side? Is it a 10 or a 20 foot between each of those to the east of each of those lots?
So you're talking about 2 and 3?
So like between 2 and 3, and then also east of 2.
So between 2 and 3, they're the same elevation, the 2 lots, and also 1 and 4 are the same elevation with relative to each other, right?
Which is how far?
How far?
What's the elevation difference between 1 and 2?
Between 1 and 2? Between 1 and 2 is 15 feet.
15.
Between 3 and 4 is 15 feet.
And then how big is the wall to the east of 2?
So we've got two tiers of retaining walls here, it looks like. So it's a maximum of 20 feet of retaining walls east of lot 2 on the east side there. I don't know. I don't remember if those are 10-foot walls or 8-foot walls, but it's either 16 or 20 feet, something like that.
But it is going to, so I guess my question is, because by the time you get to the back of the property line, you're what, like 26, 20? I don't know. So the green area here, is that gonna be, like, are you doing riprap on, against the wall, like to cover that, or is it
Yeah,
just gonna
on
be
top
cut?
of the wall.
cut
It'll be a rock
dirt, or-
line slope that blends in with the surrounding.
It's all the gray, or all the green stuff then gets covered up to the property
Yeah,
line.
Exactly. Yep. So that's like the scar that I was talking about earlier, is like, if we don't do anything with it, it would look like a big red scar. on top
But you're
of the
gonna rip
retaining
wrap that and
Right.
cover it for erosion and to cover
Exactly.
the scar and so
Yep.
forth.
For erosion and aesthetics, so it doesn't
Right.
look bad, so.
Another question for you. So you got the LID listed on both of these. Is that gonna be done now, like before, or is that gonna be the responsibility of whoever buys the lot after the fact?
So this is actually an outdated plan. The LID is going to be at the southwest corner of lot 1. And one of the conditions of, was it you that brought that up, Brandon? So you can thank Brandon for this, I guess. Just kidding. No, he made a good point, is that the maintenance of LID, well, one thing was that the planning commission, city council says that they don't want it on individual lots, right? Right, city council. So one of the requirements with LID is they don't want LID measures on individual lots. They want them in a community type setting for a subdivision. So we just put it at the southwest corner there. So the LID and detention will be in that same location. We just kind of, in that spot, we wrap the retaining walls around so that we've got some space there for a retention and detention pond.
And that's gonna be for all 4 lots? They're all gonna flow to that spot?
Yep.
Is it gonna get parceled off of lot 1, or is it just gonna be on lot 1?
That's a good question. We haven't worked through the details on that yet. Whether it's a kind of an open space piece or whether it's included in part in lot 1. I would
Brandon.
imagine it'll be a sectioned off piece, I don't think.
Right. Question for you, Brandon. If you're wanting that to be like more in a common area, whatever, is that something you guys are wanting them to section off into a different, so it's not owned by the homeowner of lot 1? I just see if everybody's water is going to sit on lot 1 and maybe somebody buys it and they really have a beef with that,
You would
that
have
could
to
be an issue.
designate it as a common area, open space.
Yeah, so it'd have to get sectioned off.
Like Rick said, this,
Could it
he
be,
has a new plat that showed this. This was not it. Updated the detention with LA.
So does that go into storm drain, or is that just going to be its own deal?
Yep. So I guess the final, whether it's going to be an easement on lot 1 or whether it's going to be a separate parcel, we don't know. I'm open to either one. And and then the stormwater will come in, it'll be captured by 2 inlets in Lost Ridge Drive and discharge into the pond. And then it'll be released out into the gutter on Lost Ridge Drive at a lower rate than existing. So in fact, it'll just be a trickle coming out kind of a thing, relative to.
Commissioner Anderson again, I guess, have you talked to Kent about what he wants to do on that, or has he left it just open to you with the design of whether it's parceled off or not, or?
On the detention portion?
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the details of it yet, but he's here and you could ask him if you want, so.
What do you think, Kent?
And that's something that's new and we really haven't talked about it. I would be open either way. It would seem to me that it would be, because this is part of an HOA, and it would seem to me there's 2 other retention basins in that same HOA that are being maintained by the HOA. It would seem to me that that would be also maintained by the same group. That's what it seemed probably most natural.
But it'd be a separate parcel, not included.
Correct. I would think that seems to be the best situation for the project, in my mind.
I agree. I think that's going to be better, because then it's easier for you to maintain. You don't have to worry about, again, I just foresee you sell it to somebody and they're like, I don't care. If we have an easement or whatever, I don't want people dumping their water here. It just seems like somebody could make a beef of it if they really wanted to.
I agree. That seems to be the cleanest way.
Okay. Do you know when are you gonna have the new design for this and so forth, like
Yeah, I have,
that we can see, or?
so I have the current design right here. If you want to put it up on the projector. Does that work? Do you know, or?
No, we can't do that because of the Zoom setup and everything, because it won't get on the recording.
Right. I do have it on paper. Do you want to see it? I can
Yeah,
hand
let
it to you. if you
me
want.
take a look at it. Okay, that's allowed, I don't know.
I'm still having a rough time visualizing this thing. Not a rough time, but so let me point out something. So Drew, if you can hear me, Kath, if you can hear me, hopefully. So you got 5 courses. You have 5 courses of retention along lot number 1 up there.
That's the old design. I've updated it with the current grading and everything. This one that Commissioner Anderson has fewer courses of retaining walls on there. But that one does look pretty intimidating, right? I think it's the new design, I believe, is 2 that go all the way through on that west side of lot 1. And then it has 3, maybe 4 on that low point right by the detention pond.
So how high are each of those courses? 8 to 10 feet, you said?
Yep.
What's the setback on each of those, Rick? You know, you have to have the up and then back. How many? It's half the distance. I hope you know that, right? You put, if you're in 10, you got to go 5.
I put 7 feet from face to face.
Okay.
So have space for the rock plus 5 feet for clear space, you know.
So are they going to use rock or are they going to use those block walls,
Be
those
rock.
concrete blocks?
So, Commissioner, you mentioned earlier on lot 36, you've seen the wall there. There's already a wall. The first course is in. That's a 10-foot wall, not a 4 or 5. It's actually 10 foot that's already in right now. It is 10 foot and matches that same color. We're going to carry that same color. They're getting the rock from up by Leeds. It's more of a natural color. And he said he's literally sitting on his pile of rock up there with a gun to keep, because that's the only matching rock we have to match. That subdivision's below, it's phase 5. It's going to match the same all the way up to the top, right up through the riprap. We're going to keep it consistent in the same color. So that first wall that's already in, there's be one more wall on lot 36, and it'll be a 10-foot wall just like that, same color. So they're rock walls, no blocks.
Okay.
Commissioner Anderson again. So I'm looking at your drawing here, and I see the LID here. My question is, I mean, it's obvious how the water is getting there from lot 1. How is it going to get across the street over there from lot 3 and 4?
So the lots drain to the street, and then there's curb inlets at the west boundary of the subdivision that'll capture that on both sides of the street.
That'll go into the pond, and then you've got another one that comes back out into the street after it sits there.
Yeah, so it'll just flow in with the flared end section into the pond. So open release into the pond, and then going out, there'll be an orifice structure that will limit the release coming out of the pond, you know, and then from there it goes into a sidewalk drainage structure, and then into the gutter. So
Still having a hard time seeing how it's going to flow. Instead of just going down the street into the regular drainage, how it's going to get into the pond, at least based on the drawing.
Is there going to be a pipe under there to that? I guess not.
No. Do you know?
So it's just those 2 curb inlets on the west side of that gray hatched area. Can you draw that on there, Drew? Like 2 curb inlets, just right at the boundary line there.
Like right around in here?
Yeah, curb inlet on the north side and the south side. And they'll probably be a little further east so that they can drain into the pond, but that's
those don't go down the street. Those go into the pond, right?
Right.
So anything that goes into that cul-de-sac goes into there and then goes into the
there,
pond, and then you got another outlet that goes out of the pond and down.
Exactly.
And then all your drainage you got showing coming off the hill and everything, you're gonna have to redraw that, I'm assuming, to go where it's actually going.
Yeah, so the drainage coming off the hill from the offside areas, it'll be captured in, you can see those blue areas on the east side. Those are drainage swells that will convey the water north and south around around the lots instead of through them and not through the project. So
So it's just gonna disperse the water outward. It's not gonna direct it to the cul-de-sac.
correct. Yep.
Is the cul-de-sac going to slope to the east or will it slope to the west?
It slopes down to the west, so the east end of the bulb will be the highest point.
Okay.
But it's a fairly flat up there that, it's.
Yeah.
nice
And your
flat
road
area.
will slope enough that you're expected those two inlets to catch the water coming into that cul-de-sac
Mhm.
itself and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Are all of these lots graded, 90% flat, 50% flat, buildable space, or will there be some stuff in there that's left?
Yeah, it's gonna be the only stuff that's left as the slope and natural, so to speak, is that green area north and south of the lots. That's the no disturb, no build area. And then the rest of it will just be graded flat or relatively flat, right? Maybe
So the-
2% slope. or
So
something.
each lot will be an acre plus of just flat, correct?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Commissioner Anderson again, just since you've got retaining walls in the front here, I'm sure you already know, but just something, I guess, to think about. Are you putting in sleeves for the gas company so they don't make whoever buys the lot tear out their retaining walls to get the gas line in?
It's a good question. Yeah.
Because they will. They've gotten really picky lately.
You don't speak from experience, do you?
Yeah.
Brandon assures us that we put it 10 feet back. Stays 10 feet back so the gas company can get up through there.
I think that's a good idea, though, is to put some sleeves under there so they can get
Yeah,
the,
easy to put a nice big sleeve.
Come
So if they
under,
have to go through the wall, they can.
because really on these ones, you can see it on the drawing. The only place you don't have retaining walls on these is at the driveway locations, so that's a good idea. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I say they've changed their policy to where now they'll only come off the corner and they'll go straight to the corner of your garage, 3 feet from the corner, and that's it. But they won't budge. So they'll make you tear your wall out before they'll go out and around and up your driveway. So you might want to put a sleeve in.
Good call.
So
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant while they're here in front of us before we open this to a public hearing? Let me pass those down. Kathy, we're going to take a minute to review the paperwork that we have here in front of us.
Give them these.
This is Commissioner Hanson. One of the comments I'll share at this time that I have for City Council to really consider and discuss at length what the most eastward boundary of this will look like when it's all said and done. In my opinion, it's going to be so highly visible from anywhere, really anywhere, that can see that mountain is going to see this property, to really pay attention and make sure that we get it right with regards to what that looks like on the most eastward boundary and the retaining wall that will be built to blend into the natural surroundings. It's not enough for me to be against the project, but it's something I definitely want to make sure the City Council discusses at length. Commissioners, you've had a chance to review this paperwork. Before we open to the public meeting, do you have any additional questions? If not, I'll open this for public. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll open this item 6A for public hearing for anybody here in the chamber that would like to add a comment or ask anything of the commission or the developer. At this time, I don't see anybody that has elected to do so. I look for a motion to close the public hearing on item 6A.
This is Commissioner Musso. I move that we close the public hearing for item 6A.
Commissioner Anderson, I second.
We've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is closed on item 6A. I'll open it back up for commissioners at this time for their questions or comments.
This Commissioner Bullock, Drew, where we don't have the, can we make sure we have the updated drawing that they have before it'll be updated before it goes to city council, correct?
Oh, yeah, they'll have to get that into us. If you've seen that and you're making your approval off that, then I'll make sure you guys all get an electronic copy in the next day or two of exactly, so you can have that in your tablet, and that'll be the one that goes on to city council, not this one.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I would say when you're doing your drawing before it goes to city council, I think that storm drain needs a little more detail to make it really super clear and understanding where the water's going, which ones are the inlets, which ones are the outlets, exactly how water's getting from each lot and so forth, just so they don't have the same questions or they don't, overlook it. Same thing with water coming off the hill, exactly where it's going, and have that detailed, really well. I think that'll be easier for them when they look at it.
I'm not gonna lie, I still have a real issue with the way it's gonna look. Even, I mean, if you have 4 feet, or not 4, but 4 courses of retention, and each of those are 10 feet, that's 40 feet of block or of rock wall that you're gonna see. I mean, it's gonna look like the Great Wall of Washington, it's gonna be up there.
I think you just started the nickname right there.
Great, yeah. Well, and the only reason I say that is because if you go down into Rustic Hills, there's a couple of lots down in Rustic Hills where those things are up 30 feet high, and all you're looking at is retention, so.
It'll be about 50 feet probably, but it's going to look a lot like Stone Cliff, kind of where you look at the cliffs and you got rows of cliffs and so forth. But they've also done a good job over there blending it in to where you got walls and you got natural vegetation, whatever, plus walls, but they've got probably that much wall as well over there. They've just blended it in pretty well. I think it can be done, but it can also be done poorly.
And that's why, again, I think for all of us to continue to let city council understand our concern with that. I expect the project to look great, but there is some concerns on our behalf here on the commission.
I just think we need to, and I know they've already gone through Hillside Commission and everything else, but that it's a big scar. I mean, especially when that thing, lot 1 is literally 534 feet long. Now that probably goes from all the way from the back to the front. So there's still, but you're going to have, let's call that 150 feet. You're still going to have close to 400 feet that you're going to see of rock retaining wall. And the same, it's not as much on 4, if that's, but you're still going to have at least 200, maybe 250 feet, linear feet of rock wall. So the last thing we want to look at is a bunch of rock walls. And like I said, I was up there today, and the scarring is bad, but those scars are all going to be covered by the houses they're going to be put in front of them, I would think. So that's my biggest concern. Am I completely out of place, gentlemen?
Kent, would you like to add anything? Kathy, Kent Rasmussen coming up to the microphone.
Sorry, I really honestly don't believe it's intrusive, as intrusive as you're picturing. Lot 36 there, half of that wall is already up. It's already half up. So when you thought it was 4 or 5 feet, it's actually 10. It actually looks pretty decent. It does protect every one of those lot owners that have a red square around them have written a letter stating they want it there. It needs to protect their lots. It needs it to be there. It's the right thing for all those lot owners. It helps that the drainage that's going to come off of that area that's not improved is coming right towards those lots. It needs to be dealt with so that it goes down the road or elsewhere to the improved drainage. It's just something that needs to happen. The road was always stubbed for it to happen. It needs to happen to actually complete that below. Now, if you look to the south, the bottom, my lot's actually down there, and it's got the same height of rock wall that you're talking about, that you're concerned about. And it actually, it blends. If you're coming from Lynn's, looking that direction, you see that big, massive red scar. Okay, you don't see the stuff that's over to the south, which is my rock wall. It's going to be a blend all the way across.
So
And it
where is
does
your
look-
rock
does look
wall?
pretty like
What
this.
road are you off
Further
of?
south, if you go down of 2,
We can't see it. Yeah, well, we can't.
just south of 2.
It's the very top lot south that we approved
Yeah,
not that
and
long
it's
ago.
being built upon right now. We're building my house on it right now. And it's got the same rock walls around it. It's the same, it's at the same elevation as lots 1 and 2, those lower lots.
Okay.
My lot's at the same elevation as those lots. Runs exactly.
Now, are
the
you
same.
off Crooked Creek or whatever that road is?
Wild Horse.
Okay.
It's off Wild Horse. Wild Horse is the real steep one. I'm right at the top of Wild Horse.
Okay.
And it actually, if you look at that wall, it's basically then consistent all the way across the top, and it blends very nicely. That red scar, yeah, that's it right there. Drew's drawn in. That's mine. I'm really literally right on that south end, and at that same elevation.
So these homes that will be built will be expected to be at the same elevation as yours.
They are, yeah, the first 2 lots and
Yeah.
the next 2 lots step up 15 feet.
So it'll be-
Just exactly like the lot that's behind me, he's up there 15 feet, which is, I think, Mike Stewart's lot.
Where's your retention? Right here?
Yep, that's it. And then now go straight down. That retention's on the end, and then it runs straight down below those 2 lots to the east. Yes, correct. And those lots, those walls are about 18, 19 feet. It's about exactly the same scenario. Yes, correct. It's about exactly the same scenario.
Okay.
Is it here? Or
No, it's right there.
It's right there. Yeah, it's all that piece. It literally ties exactly into my lot. It's on the northern boundary. Yes, correct. Yep.
So this is like 4 and 5.
That, yeah, that's open space right there where your fingers are. That's all remaining open.
Yeah, right.
So that's correct. It's, they actually touch my lot, but it's open space in between. So, yeah, you can see the walls. They look nice. We're trying to keep it consistent, but actually you don't notice them if you're running from Lens. You notice that big red scar that's there. So hopefully that helps you.
Commissioner Anderson here, he is right about his wall, because I'm real familiar with where his walls are below his house, and it looks just like any other retaining walls that are blended in. But he's also right about the drainage, that if you don't stagger that up, it's too high to retain the whole entire hillside. You've got to stage that up to get that drainage to work. I think the biggest key will be how it looks above the top lot in that green space where it's, rip wrapped up. That's gonna be the most visible thing that either looks good or not, more so than the retaining walls.
Mr. Commissioner Hanson, I agree. I think we've talked about that. Any additional comments we want to add to the record before we make a motion on this item? If not, I'll look for a motion.
This is Commissioner Musso. I make a motion that we approve the request for the preliminary plat for Chaparral Heights subdivision located approximately 1100 East Long Ridge Drive. The applicant is proposing 4 lots on an average of 8.53 acres. It's zoned R115. The applicant is Yankee Heights. And I would make that conditioned upon the 18 items outlined by staff, plus the fact that the city council and we receive new electronic copies of the final plat that was discussed this evening, which with the preliminary plat, with the details given on the preliminary plat.
Got a first, I need a second.
Commissioner Anderson, I'd say with the details regarding the revised LID drawings.
Kathy, are you able to add that? Does that make sense?
Yes, I've got it.
All right.
Did Anderson second it?
Second, Anderson. Drew, the question up here was, can we add anything about scarring as another condition?
Your hillside kind of, those last 4 items were your hillside committee's items. And
that
they'll-
Will that cover the concerns that you've heard from us this evening?
I think so, because a scar means you cut in the ground, then you leave it. Any cutting they're going to do, they're going to be putting a retaining wall in. If they cut anything, it's either going to level the land out or it's going to be a retaining wall. There shouldn't be anything other than that.
Okay, thank you.
So how does it blend back into the natural vegetation then, Drew? Just with the retaining wall?
Retaining wall will build up to that. There may be a little bit of time at that, where that last couple of feet where they have to round that natural area into the retaining wall area. That might be just left a little bit, but I wouldn't call it a scar because it's going to be minimal slopage at that point, or it should be. And we'll look at that at their construction drawings.
Okay.
I have a first on a motion here. Is there any other comments that commissioners would like to ask of Drew or staff or other?
Chairman, so this is Commissioner Anderson's. I didn't think of it before, but I don't know if it matters or not if you want me to abstain. I have a contract to build a house down below here in a community. I don't own any land or anything like that, but I do have a contract to build a house for someone. Do you want me to abstain from voting
It's
on this?
not in this subdivision, right, Commissioner?
It is in the subdivision, but not in this phase. It's all the way at the bottom. One of the old.
I say I'm talking about these 4. It's not one of these 4 lots.
No, not.
Okay, then I don't think you need to worry about it.
Okay. Then Commissioner Anderson, I second the motion.
All right, I've got a motion by Commissioner Musso. I have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzonfu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield. Aye. Commissioner Musso.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Item 6A passes unanimously. We'll move to City Council recommendation for approval. Item number 6B. By the way, Rick, if you want to come and get this before we mess it up again, I'll hand that down to you. Thanks for bringing that. We'll move to item 6B. This is a public hearing as well for consideration and recommendation to City Council for the Red Trails at Sunrise Valley. It's a preliminary plat located approximately 500 South Country Way. Applicant is Bush and Gudgel. Bob Hermanson. Staff, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Commissioner. The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the Red Trails at Sunrise Valley subdivision located at 500 South Country Way. The applicant is proposing 218 townhome sites on an area coverage of 20.64 acres, which is a 7.89 density unit per acre. The zoning designation for this particular location is planned unit development, medium high density. The surrounding zoning is industrial, I-2 to the north, county property to the east, planned unit development to the west and south. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat for the Red Trails at Sunrise Valley subdivision to the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions, all of which are the standards. And we'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thanks, Eldon. Commissioners, will open it up for questions. This is Commissioner Hanson. Was there refresh my memory, was there a maximum number of units that were going to be allowed in this project?
You mean the overall project, the whole thing?
Yeah, I thought that there was a number.
Yeah, there's 532 total.
All right, thanks.
Drew, this is Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Question. So between, I mean, this and the, you know, the Ents community that's going out there right now, plus the DR Horton community, plus the can't remember the other big one. Can't remember the name of.
Well, that's the Long Valley.
Yeah, all the Long Valley stuff. So I'm just saying, we had talked about, you know, Washington Dam Road and everything, but how much, I mean, have we really looked at the traffic and so forth on Washington between all these communities? You know, individually, the updated road is probably sufficient, but we're adding, you know, 4, 5, 6 of these big, massive communities that are all going to be dumping onto that one road. Has that been looked at as a whole? I guess maybe that's a question for Brandon.
It's probably Brandon, but I will tell you, you know, if you look on your conditions, which has been a condition forever, they have to come up with the traffic study and an approved one that doesn't have a failing grade. So, but Brandon, go ahead and take over.
Brandon Wright with Public Works. This has been addressed, and like I said in other meetings with Long Valley, Washington Dam Road plans are coming. They went back for corrections. There was a few things that they had to adjust. I can't give you a date of when it's actually going to get started. I know it's soon. I don't have an actual date just yet. That is going to improve from 1900 east all the way out to southern quarter. So it will be enough to handle the traffic that you're talking.
So I guess, I mean, I know it was part of DR Horton's thing, but with all these others going in as well, is that going to increase like what DR Horton was already planning to do the road? I mean, by the time we start adding a whole bunch of communities, suddenly
all these were
a lot more
addressed, and they have different routes. This one in particular has another route they can use. They can use Washington Dam from Countryway, or they can go north on Countryway and then go up over Landfill Road as well. So they have multiple ways in and out of there. And the same company did the traffic study for this one that did the one for Long Valley. So I know everything was looked at.
See, but this one, Brandon, is all, I mean, this whole subdivision is going to dump right on to where 1900 is. And really what what DR Hortons is from 1900 out to Long Valley, right?
Actually, this one is east of 1900 at Countryway, where it comes out. So it'd be just east.
This is 2500 east.
That's 2500.
Yeah.
So Countryway is where it comes across.
Right.
So you're just east of where we're talking, where the new project's going to start for Washington Dam.
So where's 1900? Is it
Right. No, you back towards you. Can you expand that out a little bit, Drew?
Oh, sorry, my mouth is. Hold on a second, I'll get you there.
So the project, you can see where the actual road narrows down at 1900 east. It'll start just there, and then it'll continue out to the Highway 7.
Just to be perfectly honest, that road sucks. No.
It's gonna get better.
You got that, Kathy, right?
I'm not mincing any words here, but seriously, from 1900 even out to Countryway, that road's atrocious. And
And we realize that we're doing things as fast as we can. That most of this will be built through development. In 1900, it'll be some city participation and development participation. So I just can't give you a date when this is going to actually go. I just know it's soon.
This stuff's all mass graded already. I mean, these guys they're going for it.
Like I say, they have another way up across.
Yeah, but
Landfill Road.
realistically, that's nobody's going to use that.
I know they do have that option as well.
Is that fully paved up and over landfill?
It will be.
It will be.
It's as development progresses.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I guess my biggest concern is just, you know, you approve one of these and they improve the road. And it's like, okay, that works. But suddenly we're approving 4 or 5 of these big, massive things, and they all dump onto the exact same road. And not just, even if Washington Dam gets improved, are the improvements going to be big enough to handle this kind of traffic? And then that all dumps back onto Washington Fields, which is already, at least it seems like it's at capacity already. So that's the only thing I start to worry about, is that we put the communities in before we have the infrastructure, or that we put the infrastructure in and it, you know, before you even get halfway through the community, it's already maxed out. And then you're like, oh no, what do we do now? So and I know they've done traffic studies. I worry that we're a little on the thin side here with the streets and things with this many communities coming in.
Well, Commissioner, I just want to clarify your one statement that Washington Fields Road is not maxed out. I know it may feel like it at times, but it's far from maxed out.
No, I don't. And that's why I said it appears to be maxed out at times. That's what
Yeah, and every once in a while, every road will feel that, you know, on a given day, or especially if there's a tournament in town, every road's maxed out. So yeah, we get that, you know, but again, it's all about like Brandon stated, the traffic studies play a big part, and those engineers bring those into us, and we rely heavily upon those, and there's a definite science to it. There's no doubt about it.
Brandon Wright with Public Works again. I do know that this was just ran against our traffic model just recently, Washington Dam Road with the improvements, and it does function at an acceptable level of service. So.
This is Musso again. I think this is a frustration for most people that live in the greater St. George area. Where did it come up that for all major arteries that we still have to wait for the developer to develop their section? Why doesn't the city develop it? And then you know exactly how much it costs. Then when they go to develop the ground around it, they can just back charge them for that. Now, granted, it's more expensive up front and it costs money up front, but isn't that part of the city's responsibility to provide infrastructure for the city, especially when we know that there's going to be major roads going through? And the example I use is, okay, so we widened Merrill Road all the way out to Washington Fields Road. So why don't we do that for all major roads? And this is just a question that
I understand what you're asking,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure that maybe this is the time and place that we get into this.
So who do
one.
we talk to about that? Is that the city council that you bring it up with?
I know that there's impact fees that are used to build infrastructure, and we build roads as roads are warranted and needed. Right now, I know that it is set that development provides the infrastructure, the roads as it develops. So I don't know that maybe this might not be the best setting for that. But I do know that's how it's set up right now. And we use impact fees for future projects and building roads and as it comes in when it's warranted.
So who addresses it though? Seriously, I mean, because I would think that there needs to be some change in how we do things.
Probably not the right guy for you to talk to about this.
Yeah, Commissioner, if I may just step in.
Yeah.
Commissioner Musso, to my understanding, the state law doesn't allow you to do that, is why. That back in the day, they used to be able to do that, or cities could, and then they could back charge when people came in and give them their assessment. And state laws have all changed to say, no way, you can't do that, cities. And that's one of the big reasons, to my understanding, is that you can't do that and then come back and say, hey, here's your bill, even though you weren't here. That's why. One of the biggest reason is the state law.
Wow. It just seems like it's more effective to do it that way, because then you know exactly how much it costs to do it.
Or, you know, you're
not
putting the
projecting it
burden
down the
on
future.
how many other 1,000 residents that are here where you got a development that's coming in, you know. I'm just trying to put it in perspective for you, but like I said, I'm probably not the guy, if you want to have a discussion, probably not the guy you need to be talking
Right.
to, somebody above me.
And I just asked that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think that's a question that a lot of people have, especially when we're going from 4-lane to 2-lane to 4-lane to 2-lane.
I understand.
Constantly. Okay. Thanks, Brandon. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I think, Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. I would appreciate it, for one, if we could find out factually if that's state law in Utah, just to pass back to us so we know that.
And I'll be glad to do that, but I like, Brandon was the point. The second one I was going to make is it's hard to ask all your citizens to pay for roads that don't affect them or they won't use. And that's one of the other reasons probably why a lot of cities will stay out of that business, because they'll get more backlash doing it that way. People complaining that, hey, I'll never use that road, but part of my tax and everything you're building roads for, they don't like that. It's funny.
Yeah.
So do we need to slow something like this down until Horton gets Dam Road completed?
I would only worry about that if your traffic engineer comes back and says it has a failing grade. Because that's really, you'd have to have that you'd have to have a justification to stop something. And that's really, to my, what I'm looking at it right now would be, the only way is if the traffic engineer said, I got a problem with this. This is a failing, grade. But unless that comes, I don't think you're going to be able to do it.
Brandon, just Commissioner Hanson, if you know, could you share with us maybe on a short version of what grade that comes back to now in this recent traffic study? Are we getting close to failing, or because we feel like it's close, but maybe it's not?
I don't have that information with me. I know it wasn't even close to failing.
Wasn't even close. Wow. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Commissioner Anderson, I don't know if this is a question for Brandon or Drew, but with the DR Horton, are they paying for all of the Washington Dam Road improvement, or are any of these other people like Ents or these guys, is anyone else participating in that, or is it just DR Horton?
I'm gonna leave that one with Brandon.
The developer, Brennan Holdings, and portion by the city. It's a combined effort on who's paying for the road. I won't get into the grass, but yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Commissioners, we'll get to additional questions in a minute. Before I forget, I want to open this. This is a public hearing on item 6B. I'll open that for a public hearing. Anybody here in the chambers that would like to speak or has a comment on this particular item? As you approach the microphone, if you do, looks like there's no, she had me going. I thought she was going to do it. You got me. Looks like there's nobody here in the chambers and nobody has submitted a request online to my knowledge. At this time, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Shield, I second.
We've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That closes the public hearing on 6B. I'll open it back up to commissioners for additional comments.
This is Shield. I actually had a opportunity to talk to DR Horton this week about those improvements, and they, with what they negotiated between the city and their improvements and the negotiating on the purchase of the property, they plan on that. They plan on putting that in. They understand that there's going to be other developers that actually benefit from that. But they understand that, and they're going to do that.
And this development, they do pay impact fees and everything. We just use them in other areas like Country Way or whatever, however you guys handle that, correct? Okay.
This is Commissioner Anderson. So question, so looking at this is not, doesn't look like anyways, it doesn't look like it's attached. Townhomes are they're just detached, sound like attached.
Detached.
Kind of like the Salisbury product out in Desert.
Yeah, and there's 7 feet
Or
between the
whatever.
houses.
Okay.
Commissioners, if there's no other questions or comments on this item, I look for a motion.
Well, this Commissioner Shield, I would make a motion that we forward this to the city council for the approval of the preliminary plat for Red Trails at Sunrise Valley subdivision located approximately 500 South Country Way. It's proposing 218 townhome sites on the area of 20.64 acres. The density is 7.89 per acre. With the conditions that staff has attached to this. I don't know. Does it say?
I don't.
Mellon LLC is the owner. I don't know who the builder is.
Drew, do we know who the builder is on this project?
I don't.
This is Commissioner Musso. I second that motion.
On item 6B, I've got a motion by Commissioner Shield. I've got a second by Commissioner Musso. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzampu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. We'll forward on to City Council with a recommendation of approval. We're going to move to item number 7A. This is a zone change. It's a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council. A change request on Z-21-08, change from A20 agricultural, minimum 20 acres, to C2 service commercial located approximately 3650 South Washington Fields Road. The applicant is Neil Walter. Staff, I'll turn the time over to you for your report.
All right, thank you. The applicant has requested approval to change the zoning of approximately 9.35 acres. The requested change, as stated, is from the current zoning of Ag 20, agricultural 20 acre minimum, to a proposed service commercial C2. The C2 request is for the purpose of developing the 9.35 acres into a commercial development. This particular location has a general plan use designation of community commercial. The surrounding zoning of this parcel is A20 to the north, east, south, and west. This particular intersection has been planned for and designated as a commercial center in the southern portion of the city for a good 20 years or more. Growth in the area is now making this a reality. Staff has no concerns with the proposed zone change as outlined. Therefore, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-21-08 for the zone change request from A20 to the proposed service commercial C2 designation onto the City Council. And that's based on the findings in your report. Be glad to answer any questions that you have on this proposed zone change.
Thanks, Drew. Commissioners, I'll open it up for questions.
This is Shield. Drew, could you just remind us what some uses are for C2, just so that we all understand that?
Yeah, C2 is basically almost all general retail sales, but it's not big box. You know, that goes in your C3, which falls under regional commercial, but I would still say that the Albertsons Plaza that you're used to, say, in town with the Hearts is a C2 plaza, but I would put Walmart and Home Depot as a C3 kind of, you know, more big box, even though you could put those in a C2, but because of the volume of land, I would probably see this may be more of an Albertsons type of, you know, storefront, shop, strip mall type thing. But it's basically C2 is all retail.
Thank you.
Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson, if you could go out 15 years, would you expect that all 4 of these corners would have commercial on them?
I would almost guarantee that 3 of the 4 would. It's all what the Stadies want. If they want to keep with their, you know, farm and keep what they do there, would be the one I say maybe not, because just that's what they want to do. But I would say the other 3 corners absolutely within 15 years.
And
you know, it wouldn't surprise me if 7 to 8 years you see the other, you know, all 3 corners having commercial on it.
In talking to people previous to this meeting about this corner, I live close to this corner, as I mentioned earlier. Will this be it looks like, and I'm pretty sure this is the case, but is this going to be the smallest commercial piece there of the 4 corners if we went out 10, 15 years and look back?
This particular one you're talking about?
Yes.
On tonight, that piece compared to the pieces the Andrus is owned to the south, I would say yes.
Yes. So I'm trying to, in discussions, I'm trying to forecast and put in our mind what the best uses of those corners are. If we're going to have retail there, different levels and sizes, to try to just consider for all of us as commissioners, the best use of the bigger land and the best use of the smaller pieces, I guess is more of a comment. It's not really a question.
Well, this is Sheila. 3650 is going to go up and have an interchange at the Parkway. Is that correct?
Yes, let me and it goes right by the new temple, 3650 does on the one end, runs right through, goes up and over, and then right into the Parkway. And my line's not exact. I'm sorry, it flattens off up here and then goes over, but that's still 3650. And then you're talking, this is the piece we're looking at right now. And so that's why I kind of highlighted the general plan for you there for a second. You can see, and that's the piece right here we're talking. And then this is the Andresses down south. And then Staley's have the red over here on this area. So
C2 allows for gas stations and fast food. Is that correct?
yes, but all gas stations are under a conditional use permit.
Okay.
So Drew, there's the reason this is shaped funny is basically because of the power, or not but the canal easement. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then does that canal easement, does it cut into, it's 50 feet wide, does it cut into the C2 section, or does it cut into the proposed multifamily section or higher density section? Because there's kind of that road. I mean, we're looking at your overhead.
Yeah, the way it lays out, I got a thing here they brought that I can't put out because it's a kind of protected, but when they showed it to me, I think most of the canal is going to be on this commercial piece.
Okay. So
a little bit on that next general, that general plan amendment you're looking at here in a little bit tonight.
Right.
A little bit goes on it, but most of the canal is in the commercial part.
Okay. And that commercial is elevated a couple of feet above that agricultural section right now, then. At least it looked like.
Yeah, it might be right now. Yeah.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Hanson. Brandon, on Washington Fields Road, that'll be expanded with development like this. Is that correct? Or widened, if you will? Okay.
As it builds out, it'll be right-hand turn lanes as needed with our access management plan and everything.
How wide is that road supposed to be, Brandon, total? 80 feet? Or is that?
Washington Fields is 106. 3650 south is an 85.
Which one?
Will 3650 go bigger?
Go to 106.
To expand out to its full width is where it'll as they build, it'll expand out to their side a little bit too.
But could it go to the 105?
Say that again.
Could it go to the 105 like Washington
Right now,
Fields?
it's not slated as that. It'll probably just stay at an 85. So
That's a proposed light there at some point in the future, right? Traffic light signal. Okay.
So,
yeah. I figured. Yeah. Commissioners, any other questions before I open this up to a public hearing? Really? At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for this item 7A. If anybody here in the chambers has any comments or questions, concerns, please approach the microphone and state your name, and please speak clearly and as loud as you can for Kathy, who's making notes.
you could take that down if you'd like.
I'm Catherine Staley, and I love the Snow family. So for me to come and say anything against anything that they want to do would be really hard, but I do have some concerns. And I don't know whether it's where I'm sitting, but I couldn't hear what he just said about the road. That's one of my biggest concerns about this, this coming in. Not that they're doing it, but that we're scary on Washington Fields Road. And that intersection is we're just waiting for the first one to be killed on that intersection. And I don't know whether this is the place for me to say, can we have a warrant study? Can we get this taken care of? I know there's been many accidents and maybe some of you have been involved in them.
I witnessed one about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, right in
Yeah.
front of me. Yeah.
I just barely missed getting hit and I was in the right for a change. So, but it's frightening to me because as I come down that road, down Washington Fields Road, and I see where, well, on our side, on the Staley side, the farm masters are now building. There'll be homes in there. So they will widen the road there, correct?
Yes.
And then you're going to come up by the school. You're driving up by the school and it's widened there. Then out comes Iverson's property and in and out. Now we're going to do this on the opposite side. But the most frightening thing to me is that it's right in front of where this is going to be widened, I'm assuming. Is that right? That they'll widen this where the commercial is? That's what worries me. It's because that's right in the entrance to the farm. That's right there. That's frightening to me. Because you're going to have the ins and outs on both sides of the street. It's going to be going like this. And some of us aren't as good at drivers as we used to be. And some of us are a lot younger and don't drive like they should. But that's one of my main concerns, is that intersection get looked at really quick, and that it's just going to be dangerous going down that road. And I don't know. I mean, I wish I could say that as rich as we are, that we could just widen our roads right at the same time, but I don't think that's a possibility. But that is something I'd like the city to look at. Or what are we going to do? Because we are on that road, that straight road, it's going to be in and out. And if any of you have driven down when the school children are coming, people don't know where to go because all of a sudden that road goes in and out. And so they don't know what to do. That is a concern. I have no problem with the commercial part, and I know this other part will be coming up later, but I may as well address it while you've got me up here. I have no problem with the low density being changed from very low density, but I do have a problem with medium density being changed from very low density. Because of that reason, because of the amount of vehicles and what we have now is frightening. If you're ever down there during the day and just watching, it's frightening. I think that's all I have to say.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Mrs. Staley.
Is there anybody else here in the chambers that would like to make a comment? And don't forget to please state your name and speak loudly so Kathy can hear you.
My name's Mike Tate. On behalf of Staley Farms, my wife Sherry Staley Tate, my better half's on her way home from Arizona, so she asked me to stand in for her tonight. A couple concerns on that corner piece, not just to mention the traffic volume that we're experiencing immensely, and then, but you also have the canal, and we talked about the easement of the canal, and there are high tension power lines easement also that goes down. It goes from as I'm looking at the picture, it's going along 3650 to the corner of the canal. And then right on that corner, there's a high tension power line that goes exactly north to that. That'll also have to have an easement on that. Now, again, I know it's all bin zone commercial. And again, we don't have a problem with that. But I ultimately don't see how we put an Albertsons on that lot and make it fit with that kind of easement that's going on. And my other concern is having a box store like an Albertson. I know they're not going to use that term, and I wonder how they all of a sudden they come up with using the word Albertsons. I don't know if they've already been in contact with somebody. That's none of my business. But I'd like to see it more of a light commercial, maybe some 9-to-5 businesses, maybe dance studios, lawyers' offices, maybe a dentist office. I don't see how we need another grocery store when Lynn's is literally 2 miles down the road and a half a mile from Lynn's is a Smith's. Now, I understand it's all zone commercial. I get that, but I think we need to reevaluate how to make this and how it's going to affect us as carrying on what we do. Now, again, like Catherine said, the very, very peak of that property is our front gate. That's right there, literally pulls in our front. That is our property. That's the main exit and entrance to our property. We do use that property to that as our cornfield and our haunted maze in the fall. Right now, we use that corner where we'll have to redesign what we want to do and move that corn maze. But right now, we need to evaluate exactly the traffic flow that's going to be going in and out of that piece. I'm concerned with a big store. I think there's a lot of other variables that we can use to make it manageable, traffic in and out. And again, a survey on the traffic light. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Commissioner Hanson, if I may, there is no I was using the Albertsons as an example of a strip mall type thing. There is no grocery store. They have not stated they're bringing one. Just for anybody else hearing this, Albertsons is not coming, to my understanding. None of that is coming. I was just using that as kind of the strip mall to give your, I had a commissioner ask about what kind would go in there. That's all I was using as an example. Just want to make that clear, just so nobody thinks there's a grocery store coming. I mean, there may, but that's not what's coming right now, to my understanding. So I just wanted to clarify that if I could.
This is Commissioner Hanson. Drew, I'm sorry, is there any other people here in the chambers that would like to make a comment today? I look for a motion to close the public hearing from the commissioners.
This is Commissioner Musso. I move that we close the public hearing.
I second that, Commissioner Van.
I've got a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that closes the public hearing on this item. Dang it, I shouldn't have done that because I forgot what I was going to say, Drew.
My chime in?
Oh man, yes, absolutely chime in.
So this is a question for Brandon. Brandon, when do you think, or at what point does it require a traffic light? So at 3650 South and Washington Fields Road?
Typically has to meet warrants. So when this development comes in, that they're proposing for approval for the actual development, they'll be required to provide a traffic study. So in order for a traffic light, not being unsympathetic to any of what's said here tonight, it has to be warrants. And Mrs. Staley mentioned that warrant study. I can pass that on. I don't know that that's scheduled right now to have a warrant study. I could pass it on, the information, to the people above me. This development will be required to do a traffic study as well, for everything that they do on that.
Okay, I just know from experience from this afternoon, that is, it takes a while to, if you're turning left, it takes a while to get there, that's for sure.
And it's not just right there either.
It's
all
everywhere.
over town.
I know, I understand.
This Commissioner Shield, I'm going to get stoned and I'm really nervous to bring this up, but, and not stoned out of my head, but probably with rocks. But as I look at this is all, even Staley's farm is general plan commercial, the way I look at it. I understand it is a farm. It operates as a farm. I follow farm trucks and tractors all the time, but I also see a lot of traffic at their events. So they're operating it like a commercial property too. So I think there is a traffic problem, and it's going to go commercial eventually. I guess for the operation that for a haunted house and the fields or the corn maze and all the different events that they hold there, which I like. I can hear them from my house. It's fine. but they're causing traffic. So maybe they're part of the problem too on it, more as much as this new development. So I think it's something that we all have to be united on and helping increase that road. So that's my 2 cents.
This is Commissioner Hanson. I remember what I was going to say now. I trust and I don't really have any other reason not to believe, Brandon, that we'll do the appropriate traffic studies that are needed for something like this. The only suggestion or recommendation that I would ask for somehow, some way in this process is the intersection there, Washington Fields Road and 3650. It's very dark at night, and I've seen these blinking stop signs that have a blinking perimeter around them. I would love to see one of those added. I saw an accident a month ago. I've seen 3 or 4 in the last 3 years that I've lived out there. I've almost been hit. Everyone that drives there probably has a similar story. I think that would be a minimal ask for something like this that would help a little bit while we're going through this process of building out that intersection. So just something to take into consideration, whether it's from the city or this development, attach it to it. I don't know how or what the best way to do it is, but I think that would be very helpful, in my opinion.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I mean, I think what's been said is correct. I think that, I mean, ultimately it's all going to go commercial one way or the other. And whether the farm is operating quasi-commercial or not, whatever, but I don't really want to limit the one piece, say, well, it can't be commercial now because the other's not. But at the same time, I think that I really hesitate to move this, onto commercial zoned until we've got a little more done with the traffic. And again, whether that means, I don't know how we say, hey, it doesn't, it does warrant a traffic study on this or a stoplight or whatever. But I think I think it's a real problem right now. And if we move it to a commercial, it's just going to make it worse. So, I mean, I don't think we limit it, but I think it needs to be addressed, sooner than later.
I think it'll be addressed as tenants and users come in. I think we're looking at changing the zone so that tenants and owner users can come in and pay the price for that property that they're looking for.
Yeah, so the way I look at it, Commissioner Anderson, is your comment's very valid in the next inning. That's the way I look at it. Like this inning, we're allowing it to be, or recommending city council to consider this for approval to be commercial. And then we go from there and start looking a lot more in depth about traffic and what types of things want to come here. That's the way I look at that, but I share your concern as well.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I guess maybe a question for Brandon, but so I guess, we've got 2 ways of improving the roads, right? We've either got somebody buys the land and they go develop it and it gets improved, or like you said, impact fee money is used to improve that. So one or the other is there any possibility that things like, a traffic light or any of the things that have been talked about could be used out of the impact, fee money, or is moving this on to commercial and letting developers then improve it? Is that the only way we can get it done? Makes sense.
I don't know if it's I don't want to speak out of turn here. You guys are putting me on some hard spots tonight.
Really putting you flat.
And you wanted to come back.
Away from now on. What I guess this probably isn't the place at where we're at right now with the zone change. We don't ask for a traffic study at this point. Traffic study will be done when they come back in and they submit for the project. That's when things will be addressed, and we'll discuss deeper into what the recommendations are. And at that point, then we can look at whether light's warranted, when they come in for vesting. Right now, they're asking for a zone change, so we're not at that level, what you're asking for. I don't know whether it's appropriate for me to comment on what you're asking about the impact fees, because like we discussed on the last one, we hit on that development pays for the infrastructure. I know the city has a responsibility on certain things. So I think that would be better answered at a different time.
I guess just to clarify, what I'm really getting at is that if we're all, in agreement that this is going to move that direction anyways, is the only way to get things like traffic light and so forth looked at to let it move towards development? Or is that something that, like, is there anybody that looks at that, or is it just, it gets looked at once it moves towards development?
And I know it's being looked at. I know right now it's being looked at. I don't have that information to share with you right now. I didn't anticipate these questions. I would say that my recommendations is we move with what we got and we handle it at the next stage when it comes in. Because I feel like that's an appropriate way to handle this with what they're asking for right now in its own change.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm not sure if Brandon's going to show up to work tomorrow, Drew, just so you know.
He's going to feel beat up.
Commissioners, any other questions on item 6A for staff or the applicant? And if not, I'll look for a motion.
Go ahead.
This is Sheil. I would make a motion that we recommend to the city council this zone change request from Z-21-08 to change from A-20 agricultural minimum 20 acres to C2 commercial located approximately 3650 South Washington Fields Road. Applicants Neil Walter. That's it. Done.
This is Musso. I second that.
Okay, I've got a I'm sorry, excuse me. I have a motion by Commissioner Shield, got a second by Commissioner Musso. Individual voting on this item, Commissioner Fitzamfu.
Aye.
Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Commissioner Musso.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes unanimously. We move to City Council with a recommendation for approval. At this time, we'll go to item 7B. Yeah. Would you like a break now? Okay. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting for a 5-minute break for those that would like it, and we'll come back and address and pick up on item 7B. Yeah, all right, sure thing.
Maybe looked at, maybe won't, but which I get that. My cats are totally right. You can have this little piece that's developed and a little piece here, and it's just it's the same kind of problem as on that one. Fix the whole thing. If you go from big to small, it's a mess. So, they are. Totally. They do. They but I think at least in winter, stop signs. Problem is, it's all over my wife in Provo. They had the same argument on University Park or University Avenue. It was a busy intersection by the country club. And years and years, residents would say the same thing. Hey, it needs to be an intersection or a light right here. And planning commission, city council, they all say, oh, well, it doesn't warrant it. It doesn't warrant it. My wife's sister was killed at that intersection. And suddenly within 3 months, there's a stoplight. I'm like, come on, you don't want, the stoplight shouldn't be the monument to somebody that died. It should be common sense. Yeah, I'm like. Absolutely. $1,000 a year, just me, what's in it, let alone. I had no problem, no problem. I apologize. Then it's like, I don't want to be just a rubber stamp. That's our setup. I just finished it out. Just finished. Brand new. And it was bumper traffic from Washington all the way to San Hall. And you can't even go here. Just and what worries me is the all these traffic studies, but we are growing so much faster than the traffic studies account for. By the time, like the Mall Bridge Drive, the prime example, the minute it was built, it was maxed out. And they got the space, but it hasn't. That's all. And I know that like, oh, it's not maxed out. We really want the streets to be maxed out before we exit. I'm telling you, all Bridge Drive, prime.
Yeah, how about you? No, I live over off of Maryland, 400, 400. The condos. Yeah, it's like
Sorry to grill you so much.
All right, everybody, if I'll give you a couple minutes to get back to your seats and we'll resume our meeting.
Up? 2 minutes ago? 10 minutes ago. CE is the worst, though.
If you're waiting for me, I'm back and ready.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll resume the meeting this evening with item 7B. This is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council, a zone change request Z-21-9 to change from A20 agricultural, minimum 20 acres, to R112 single-family residential, minimum 12,000 square foot lots, located approximately 3650 South, 240 West. The applicant is Hoops Construction. Drew, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you. As stated, applicants requesting to change the zoning of approximately 10.114 acres. The requested changes from the current agricultural 20-acre minimum to a proposed single-family residential 12,000 square foot minimum, or the R112 zoning district. The R112 request is for the purpose of developing the 10.114 acres into a future residential development. This particular location has a general plan use designation of low-density residential, and within that low-density residential are the two zones of R110 and R112. The surrounding zoning to the parcel is R115 to the west and south, and RA1 to the east and north. Staff has no concerns with the proposed zone change as outlined. Therefore, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-21-09 for the zone change request from Ag 20 to the proposed single-family residential 12,000 square foot minimum R112 zoning designation onto the City Council, and that's based on the findings in your report. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have on this proposed zone change.
This is Commissioner Hanson. I'm going to throw a quick curveball here and I'm going to open this to a public hearing. If there's anybody in the congregation, not congregation, if there's anybody here in the chambers that would like to say anything, please let it be known at this point. At this point, I'd like to, we do have one. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. And please state your name for the record. Kathy is keeping notes on the other side. Thank you.
My name is Bob Manley. I live just actually where you see a pool on the south end of the property there. A little more to right there. So we're not opposed to a change. Things are happening. I mean, and but we are curious about if there has been a decision made on the road behind us, whether or not it's going to go through or it's going to be or curve over to the new road, or if it's going to be a cul-de-sac. Like I've talked to Mike Shaw a couple times. And so just curious if there's been a decision made on that. And also, of course, we're hoping that in the future it doesn't go, there's no commercial, and has the owner, the new owner, indicated other than the R12, if there's any other plans for, depending on what the road decision is. Anyway, thank you.
Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here in the chambers with a comment?
Look what he's drawing out.
Yeah. So curveball for a strike. That's what I want to do, is see if there's any comments that we can address in our comments as well. So at this point, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing, and we'll have a chance to address Bob's comments as well as the ones that we may have as well.
Ms. Gill, I propose we close the public hearing.
Anderson, I second.
Got a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. At this time, the public hearing is closed, and I expected there would be some, at least comments from the commission about the road there through the property. Brandon, if you wouldn't mind taking a second and updating us on the road, or Drew, either or, that would be helpful. And I think Bob asked a question that's very valid as well.
I think Brandon's doing a great job tonight. Plus,
Yeah.
I think he's probably he's more equipped on this one right now anyway.
You can see it right there behind you, what it's proposed to do. So it looks like, I talked to you earlier, it looks like it's probably not going to cul-de-sac. It looks like it's going to come up and intersect with 3650. I know it is in the design stage, working with St. George for their portion as well at our municipal boundary.
Is this the boundary right here?
It's the east side of that church. And the property that we're talking about for the zone change, that's where the boundary sits, right?
City boundary?
So what's going to happen with this road if that road comes up here? What's going to happen with this property?
That actually was it part of the sale is with the parcel that just was out for sale is what I believe. Both there's the larger portion and the smaller portion that'll.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon, you might want to let him know that green line's off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so is the purple one. You know, it'll come over in here more.
The green line will actually
the green
sit
one's up here.
Go behind the church, kind of like east and behind the church a little bit.
It'll go over more like
Yeah. It'll loop up. It actually connects with 1450 over there and goes behind the temple on St. George's side. So then it'll come down through ours.
Brandon, I just want to clarify something, Commissioner Hanson. Our city boundary is on the west side of that church there. Is that correct?
Drew, can you turn that boundary on so they can see it?
Yes. I thought the city was right here, the city line.
The parcel that I was talking about, the parcel that we're talking about tonight.
Right. Yeah.
For the zone change, it goes at the back of that piece. So that green line that the road won't clip into the church. It'll actually go just around the northeast corner of that right there.
So this piece that's going to be left over however big it might be, is going to be part of this parcel tonight that we're talking about?
Yes. From what I understand, somebody has bought both those. I don't know if that's that yet.
Okay.
But
Drew, what we're asking is, when the road goes through, there's going to be somewhat of a pizza slice left on the southwest corner. And that is part of this property that we're talking about this evening, correct?
Yes, and as of tonight, the city still owns it, but it's like Brandon said, so there has been an agreement, an accepted bid, but that won't go through for another, I think Mike Shaw told me a couple weeks ago, for another 30 days minus the 10 or 12 in between. So that's why we still left it. It's still the city-owned piece, the bottom one. The Hoops own the one up here, you know, and then we own the bottom 5 acres. The Hoops own the north 5 acres.
That explains it. All right. Bob, are you getting your questions answered? I just want to make sure. Would you mind? I'm sorry, Bob. Would you mind the microphone?
So is what's being said is the bottom portion is still going to be retained by the city? No?
No, we sold that.
Yeah, the whole thing was sold.
Minus the road. Yeah, the road that the
Minus the
people who
road,
bought
right.
it know where the road is. They know that.
It's zoned as, actually, it's going to be zoned with what we're doing tonight. So it'll be zoned as residential. It's being proposed this evening to be zoned as residential.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Just so this the same owner, the construction company, he does a lot of commercial, and that's kind of what we're concerned about is that piece that backs up to us and right where it turns, what's the little piece left might be changed from the R12 to something more.
All right. Well, you'll definitely have the opportunity to come back when we find out what they're going to do with that.
Right.
But for this evening, that's what the proposal will be. I just want to make sure you had a chance to get your
Thank you
questions
so
in.
much.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just to let him know, commissioners, they would have to go through a general plan amendment and a zone change if they want to go commercial.
Both.
Just, you know, that, and so he would be back for he would get notice for that as well.
Commissioners, additional questions for staff on this particular item? Do we know when that road is supposed to start, the construction?
I don't know that.
Maybe a better question is that road expected to be finished around the time the temple is finished?
I think so.
I think that's the plan.
Okay.
Or before.
Okay. This is Commissioner Hanson. We may not know the answer to this. I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. Will 3650 still tee in over there? We don't know that, do we? Because that's in St. George.
Sorry, over here.
Yeah, tee into.
Understanding that's going to stay in place, this.
It will stay there.
I think so, unless Brandon knows differently. I think what the last I heard, that was still the plan to leave that just because of the development all happening here on this 515 and all this down in here, you know. And I think that's why they wanted to leave that still in place. And then when it comes over here, it bends up in, you know, as I drew here.
Yeah. Okay.
Up that way.
So they'll end up abandoning the part right behind his house, probably.
I don't know.
So Drew, when that happens, they'll end up abandoning part of 3650, right? As it curves up. So the part that's kind of in your little triangle, won't they abandon that?
It would have to. I cannot see them being able to do this Y down here. So that's why they're bringing the road back here and it kind of swoops up into a 90 degree change up over there. And then I think this will be abandoned.
I understand. Okay.
That now, again, this is all still unclear for most of us. So, but that's my guesstimation.
Right. So Bob, that does bring a good point. We expect to see you again because that would be a valid question for you, right? If that sits right behind your house. seven A. It's just crazy how there's two intersections. which I came on the one to get here. I don't know how they're gonna fix it, especially where this T's ended 3,000. Anyway, it's not.
Hey, who's ever talking needs to speak in a mic.
We apologize. Can we just negate the comment? Is that okay?
That's fine. I just didn't, if it didn't have anything to do with the media, I'm fine, but yeah, we.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It's okay.
Okay.
At this point, commissioners, are there other questions for Drew or the applicant on this particular item? And if not, I'll look for a motion.
This is Commissioner Musso. I make a motion that we approve the zone change Z-21-09 to rezone approximately 10.114 acres located at approximately 3650 south and 240 west from the current agricultural 20 acre minimum to the proposed single family residential 12,000 square foot minimum R112 zoning designation. The applicant is Hoops Construction.
Anderson, I second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Musso, a second by Commissioner Anderson. On item 7B, individual voting, Commissioner Fitzampu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. 7B passes unanimously. Move to City Council for recommendation for approval. Number 8A, this is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council. General Plan Amendment G21-02 to change from very low density to medium high density located at 500 East, 3650 South. The application is Neil Walter. Turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you. As stated, applicant seeking to amend the general plan use map. The area requested covers approximately 9.16 acres. The current land use designation is very low density residential. The applicant is seeking approval to have the land use designation changed to the medium high density residential designation for the possibility to develop the area into a future multifamily residential project. The surrounding general plan use designations are very low density residential to the north, east, and west, and low density residential to the south. As stated above, the applicant wishes to amend for the higher density in conjunction with other development they would like to be doing on both sides of this particular proposal, which includes a commercial project on the east, referred to the zone change you talked about earlier tonight, and the northwest corner of Washington Fields Road at 3650 East, and then a single family project development to the west on the remaining parts of their parcel, which you can see in that light green from the yellow hashed area on the screen. The medium high density residential designation allows for the R3 zoning district and carries a 7 to 12 dwelling unit per acre ratio. Staff's reviewed the requested change and finds no problem with the request from the very low density residential to the medium high density residential, just based on the simple fact that the intersection of this particular, that's in close proximity to this property, which is the intersection of Washington Fields Road and 3650 South, will soon be, well, not soon be, already is a very busy intersection with it to only get busier. Just also to let you know, in the planning profession, this is kind of how planners like to set things up when you go from commercial and feather into single family residential. And this is a setup that townhomes serve the best purpose for, to be that buffer between commercial and single family residential. So this is just following good practice of planning. I know people may not always agree with it, but it is always the best buffer zone between those kind of developments of commercial and single family residential. With that said, staff would then like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of G-21-02 to amend the general plan land use map from the current very low density residential to the proposed medium high density residential designation. And that's as it is outlined in your exhibits. And that would be on to the City Council. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have before your public hearing, if you'd like.
So Drew, this is Musso. Very low density, 15,000 square feet lots and bigger. Is that what it is?
Yes, R115 and bigger.
So you're going to go with R115 next to townhomes
Correct.
or manufactured homes, because it was MH was also the designation that was allowable.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I don't think that flies.
What, the mobile home?
Well, obviously a mobile home, but I don't think, you know, even
So
with
you-
higher
I get what
density,
you're saying. So you'd rather just see R115 right up to the commercial?
I would rather see something like an R18 or an R16, maybe a medium density, as opposed to a medium high density.
Isn't the next thing on our item just to the west going
It's
to?
very low density. That's what we're saying. It's going from
Right.
15,000 square foot. Then you're going to have townhomes back in those 15. Remember when we did steeplechase down there and how much of a commotion those people raised, and they had R110, well, actually R18 lots, I think. And then they were getting townhomes behind them.
But I think what Commissioner Shell's trying to say is if the next one goes through with the city council, that would put you in the R110 and R112 zones, not R115.
Right, it's changing.
Oh, is
He's
it changing?
asking to change that.
Yeah, your next line item, agenda item is going from very low density to low density.
Low density. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, it
So
feathers.
that's 10 to 12,000 square foot lots.
Yes.
That helps some, but still couldn't we feather it down to 8 to 6 as opposed to using townhomes?
Well, your density is what they're gonna have there is gonna be about 8. Isn't that right, Drew? 6 to 8 per acre?
Yeah, your medium density is basically 4.5 to 6 dwelling units per acre on medium density. That's your R18s and R16s.
Yeah.
And then your R3s can be 7 to 12 dwelling units per acre.
So do you think just to try to keep the field so it doesn't have townhomes everywhere, could they not go to a medium density? The R16 to R18 stuff?
No,
I mean,
no, you have a valid point. I'm just, but there are no other townhomes in this particular part of town.
Wow. 300 yards to the south, you have them. You have a whole
On
bunch
the
of
other side of the commercial, yeah, but I'm just saying right up in this particular area. But you know,
Right.
that's farther down, you know, that's down in that commercial again. That's the blending that was already used down there to do the same purpose.
Right, but I guess my question is, can't we blend using 6,000 square foot and 8,000 square foot lots as opposed to using townhomes? That's my question, because I don't think it's going to make a difference. I mean, it makes a difference in density, obviously. To the developer is going to make a difference because they're going to want to stick as many units as they possibly can in there. But just from an aesthetic standpoint, you know, I think it would blend just as well using smaller homes. And that's coming from the appraiser, you know that. I mean, that's just me personally.
Well, that's what I appreciate. I appreciate your opinion on it, you know. We're not, neither one of us right or wrong on it. I appreciate where you're coming from, you know, and but like I say, in my profession as well, as you have yours, I've just always felt townhomes are the best buffer between commercial development, between that and single family residential. I just feel uncomfortable even putting single family residential at 6,000 right next to commercial development.
But you got a 50-foot easement there for the utility easement, plus a walking path. And that's going to be, and we've basically just kind of determined that that's going to be some type of strip center without a great big grocery store or box store or anything in it, more than likely. So it's not going to be a high volume commercial, I would think. And I don't know, I'm, you know, that and $1.69, I can go buy myself a Coke, you know, for what my opinion's worth.
Although to play devil's advocate, then this is Anderson. To play devil's advocate there, this does help bring some some affordable housing into the valley too. I mean, there's no other way to do it without bringing some townhomes in somewhere. Just saying.
I think with the right builder that puts in granite and stainless appliances, not the high end, but stainless appliances, that could be a good project for townhomes. I don't like the idea of the manufactured.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop.
Well,
As soon as I heard that,
you saw that on the proposal. It says that it could happen.
Well, that would come through a zone change and you would have to approve that zone change.
Right.
That one I would not be approved with. I would not be okay with that. Commissioners, any other comments? This is a public
well, now we got to open up.
Hearing.
I almost said public meeting. This definitely is a public meeting. I'm going to open this for public comment at this time. Is there anybody here in the chambers that would like to make a comment on this particular item? I look for a motion to close the.
Commissioners, my name is Neil Walter. I'm here as the applicant. I just wanted to make two comments. The first one is that if there are any specific questions that you have that I can answer for you, I'm happy to do so. The second one is I just wanted to comment that we don't have any plans. We don't expect that there will be plans for manufactured homes. I think that that's an important consideration, and recognize that that would be part of the zoning process if we came back. And the second one is that I just wanted to express that our intent was with the medium high density was simply to provide a blended zone that would avoid what you're going to at some point have in all of these other neighborhoods where that commercial is touching that residential. You're going to have a lot of friction in those areas. We wanted to plan for a blended zone that would allow to mitigate some of that potential friction. And that was the purpose for coming with the three proposals: the commercial with the medium high density and then the low density. But anyway, I'm here to answer any additional questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
So Neil, I can appreciate, I mean, I know exactly what you're doing and I appreciate the way it's done. I'm just questioning, can you use something other than townhomes? Smaller homes?
I think that that's an important question. It's one of the reasons why we've brought the proposal as a land use plan with this concept. Our thought has been that against that commercial, the townhomes are they're the best buffer. The assumption is that there's automatically going to be 12 units per acre there. I don't think that that necessarily is the case. Again, we have to come back with a zone with a specific density and a proposal, I think, as we're moving through this process. And so it's our expectation that there's going to be further conversation besides just the conversation tonight about the appropriate density. I also do think that as difficult of a challenge it is, we do have a very significant affordable housing issue, and we can lower the density. As we lower the density, we increase the entry point for anybody that's trying to buy housing. So I think that those are both very valid discussions, and one of the reasons why we're here before the Planning Commission to discuss it in this context is to raise those issues and get feedback from you, so that as we're planning and preparing for the zoning process, we can do the best we can to get a project that's going to fit the needs of the community.
Is there a reason that it's niched at the top?
Yes, it's actually very simple. We know that it's going to be needed to align with Samsung Estates, and we're trying to contemplate potential development options for your low density lots, particularly ones that might blend in with what will be what's already there in Samsung Estates. And so ultimately what we're doing is we niched it because we're trying to manage some of what we think might be the road planning in the future. So that's one issue that we've kind of discussed through with staff. There are some challenges about the way that you lay that out with that arc, and that's just one of the characteristics that we think is probably left after trying to manage the road dynamics and make sure that the road dynamics in what, what will be a later discussion, work in that low density subdivision.
Neil, are you expected to have an entrance or an exit there on the top piece of that across from the entrance to Staley Farms?
Are you talking about across?
Right there.
Yeah, I think that as we move forward in actually doing any further planning, that would be a conversation with the city about how you see the access. Right now, I think that most of the discussions that we've been having with the city relate to connecting Sun Estates, and then also potentially pushing whatever the road improvements are on 3000 East. But again, that's a conversation. I don't think that any decisions have made. Your staff probably have more insight on how that needs to work than what I might be able to offer today.
How wide is that section there at the bottom of it, 3650? Do you know?
How wide is in linear feet? I could find out, but I don't have the engineer drawing with me today. The legal description, I think, will probably call it out. Let me see if it's in the legal description.
Is it going to be a single road that's double load or
Yes.
sided, double loaded?
Yes, probably. It's about 200 and some odd feet, Neil, just to help you out.
Thank you, Drew. I really appreciate
It's
that.
about 225 wide, and it probably will be a road in the middle and then loaded on each side, I would imagine.
Is there a common area in there?
Excuse me?
Will there be a common area in there for?
We haven't designed the subdivision.
Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. Do we have an opinion as a city on or is it too early on the northern part of this and where that connects to Washington Fields Road?
Too early.
Okay.
Yep.
Neil, thanks. Please stick around. We'll.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Are there any other people that would like to speak on this for public comment? Again, please state your name for Kathy. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Mike Tate, again, on behalf of Staley Farms. First of all, a lot of concerns about, again, we know exactly what the plan is. I got a lot of concerns. You got single family housing all the way around that in the yellow, and we're fine with that. We understand the housing's coming, but to put high, medium density housing in that stretch, I understand we could throw all the words out there that we need more affordable housing. Let's just say the affordable housing 5 years from now turns into Airbnbs, and people are buying in these things as fast as they can, and they're renting them over and turning them into overnights. We have no control of who's coming in and going out of there. The next thing is on that canal road, they don't have access to go across that canal anywhere. So all those people on that lot will be dumping on this 3650, or they're going to go through Sunstone Circle and drive north through a neighborhood, and that's going to zigzag by the the Academy there, St. George Academy. And I'm pretty sure you don't want a lot of cars driving through there, and the people that live there don't want high frequency of people driving through that neighborhood. So there's a lot of concerns that I have, particularly with this. I don't have a problem if they want to do, my concern is if we just want to make it single housing all the way through there would be the very, very best thing for that lot. I understand that they like to have that buffer that goes from commercial to residential, and they have lots of studies. Well, I'm kind of old school, and I understand that we have a doctor running around this country telling us that we need to wear 2 face masks everywhere we go. So most of the time the science isn't always right, and we can make decisions that's best suited for the people that live in that area. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment this evening? Thank you. Commissioners, I look for a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
Ms. Shield, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second that, Commissioner Van.
I've got a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed on item 8A, and I'll open it back up for commissioner comments or questions. This is Commissioner Hanson again. I know you said it's too early, Drew, but I just want to clarify something that was just said that made me want to ask this question. On that same northeastern tip there that connects to Washington Fields Road, would there even be room for an entrance there based on it looks like it's a tight fit because of the canal, which I would assume they can't build over. Maybe they can, I don't know, but is it even possible to have a road there, an entrance?
It probably is. They probably have enough to do because they would be responsible for half the road at this point. And it looks like, because it's, again, probably going to be a 50-foot road. So they would just need 25 feet plus a little bit because you have to have 2 lanes of traffic. So, which they might have to put on their whole property. But that means it'd probably be about 30 feet. And it
Neil,
looks like they might have that.
By chance, Neil, do you know if there's 30 feet there, if there's a possibility for a road?
Are you asking me or Neil?
Neil.
I don't know offhand.
Okay. That's fine. I didn't expect you necessarily to know it, but I'm just curious. It seems logical to me that would be something to be considered in the future. And I know it's too early. I understand that, but the comment made me wonder if there's even room if it was possible.
Yeah, I would just comment that at some point, at a later stage, we'd have, a Plat would be trying to move through. And in that context, all of these decisions would be, it'd be easier to make with that engineering in place. I just don't have that engineering to be able to answer that question today.
Was it considered by you all to consider this as just one family or one plot instead of 2? So we're splitting it up. I mean, I understand the feathering and all that, but have you considered just doing one type of housing in there?
We did. I think that the issue, Commissioner Musso raised this, and so did Drew. You're going to have a lot of challenges with taking, for example, a 12 or 15,000 square foot lot and backing it up against there, even with the buffer. We felt like that there was 2 purposes that we wanted to try and accomplish. The first one was that we recognize that while this is a great area, people love living in this area, by bringing the residential, the low density residential and trying to accommodate as much of that as we could, that we would have, there'd be great, it'd be a great place for it. There'd be a lot of success. We also recognize that there is a desire to try and step down some of that zoning. And we felt like that this was the best way to try and accomplish that. We also recognize, as I mentioned before, that although we're not trying to provide the lowest cost housing in the community, we're not today here proposing a vacation rental overlay. We do think that affordable housing is going to continue to be an issue, and anything we can do to keep the cost of housing in reasonable ranges. Again, we're not looking to try and put the lowest cost housing here, but to have that within reasonable ranges, we think actually creates value. And when you start considering where in the community you can place those, I know that you're seeing a number of proposals around the community, but mostly you're seeing them in places where either you already have commercial and you're stepping down in that zoning, or else you have a high traffic or other considerations, high impacts that might not be as desirable for people that want to build larger homes on larger lots. And so we think that this is a good use of this particular land for that purpose. And it was thoughtful in our approach, specifically in our conversation with staff about how to position that.
Awesome. What, just to put into perspective for me, maybe Brian, this is a question for you or Drew. In St. George, by Lynn's there, just outside of our city, where they're building those patio homes, is that the type of thing you're talking about? Maybe would be more appropriate in your opinion in this, other than a townhome? Behind Lynn's.
The single level patio homes?
Yeah.
Okay, those are 14 to 1,700 square foot homes. Yeah, that would be great. I'm just, anything like that would be great. And those are only 2 units. Most of those are only 2 units.
Right.
And then there's land in between, and then another 2 units.
What size of a pad does that fit on? Like 4,000, 3,000, 5,000? I don't know. It's the reason I'm asking. I really like it. And when you were talking, I was kind of visualizing something like that.
Maybe if I could just add one thing to note about the proposed development plan, which we haven't proposed one and we haven't contemplated, but a townhome can be attached or it can be detached. It's a matter of the way the plat is actually created. And then you can have them, multi-story, they can be single story. So again, as we're looking at this and we talk about, I think the natural reaction is to go directly to that for example, that townhome or that multifamily concept. We're not suggesting that there's a particular way that we want to actually plat it today. We're here again focusing on what we think is the density issue. One of the reasons why the density issue is important is because there's a huge impact that land value has on prices, and we know that the end product, you have the ability to keep the price down while still building a nice product that's very much livable and desirable for people to live in. We think that that's just one of the ways we can keep the land down keep the price down, is by managing the cost of the land and infrastructure. And to be quite frank, density is one of the ways that you do that. It creates that barrier and that softening from the commercial that you're going to be adjacent to, and it simultaneously allows you to keep your total unit cost down by not, frankly, going inexpensive on the finishes inside.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant or staff?
Hey, Drew, this is Commissioner Van.
Yes.
Hey, can you explain the process of if someone wants to make a community vacation rentals? Because there is an actual step, and as far as people just setting up rentals, vacation rentals, that's not considered legal, correct?
That's correct. You know, there is a process. It would run through a PUD, and we used to have an overlay zone, but we just turned it into one of our PUD options. But they would have to bring a plan to do that. And I can just tell you right now, I have a city council that's not real cozy to doing any more vacation rentals at the moment. If anybody does it without that, it is illegal, and we can go after them and prosecute. That's because that's a violation of the zoning ordinance and other things as well. I hope that answered your question.
Yep.
If all the commissioners would agree, I would consider that we add a condition, even though it's been spoken here and there's no plan for manufactured homes on this property, that is something that is excluded under all circumstances, just to put on there to be safe. Can we do that? Drew?
The only reason I even mentioned it is because it was in the,
I understand.
you know, it said MH. You know, I didn't mean to get everybody's panties in a wad.
Wow. We've all seen crazier things happen, I guess.
Unfortunately, commissioners, you can't put a condition on a general plan or a zone change. But you can still just say, as part of our mode, we'd like the city council to know that we would not like to accept, you know, any proposals in the future. Doesn't mean people can't apply, but you could just send them a strong message saying that we probably would not be favorable if somebody brought a mobile home. You know, I don't mind you putting that in your minutes and even in your motion, but I can't do a condition.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission? If not, I look for a motion on this item. I can't.
This is Sheila. I would make a motion that we recommend to the city council. I should get my glasses on. That we approve 8A G21-02 land use map in the area. Let's see, it's 500 east and 3650 south from very low density. Am I on the wrong? I'm on the wrong one, aren't I?
No, you're there. No, you are on the wrong one. Go back one.
I'm on the wrong one. I got to go back. Okay. Anyway, let's start all over. I recommend that we forward this to the city council for approval on the Z-21-09 to rezone approximately 10.14 acres located.
That's not right.
Sorry, you were on the right one. You said the 02. You just started reading something different. Go. Let's start you over again.
All right.
You're on 2102, G 2102.
All right. I'll wake up. G 2102. We recommend that we forward this to the city council to approve the general plan use map in the area located at 500 East, 3650 South, from very low density residential to the new proposed medium. That's wrong, isn't it?
No, you're right. Keep going.
Okay, medium density.
Medium high.
Medium, oh, okay, there you go. Medium high density, I'm sorry, medium high density residential, general plan use designation. Applicants Neil Walter. As a planning commission, we would make a motion that the city council recommend we just make a recommendation that the city council will not approve manufactured housing. All right.
Kathy, can you make sense of that?
I put her out.
Yes, I've got it.
I think Kathy and Brandon are at the end of their rope with us tonight. I have a motion on item 8A. I'm looking for a second.
Commissioner Van, I second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Shield. I have a second by Commissioner Fitzonfu. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzonfu.
Aye.
Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Commissioner Musso.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion 8A passes. We'll push along to City Council for a recommendation for approval on item 8A. Item 8B is also a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the City Council in the same area, a general plan amendment, G21-03, to change from very low density to low density, located approximately 300 East, 3650 South. The applicant again is Neil Walter. Did I mess that up? Do you want to back up? Yeah, from low density, located approximately 500 East. Well,
yeah.
It's the same address for both of those. Don't get confused by the address. Yeah.
500 East, 3650 South, applicants Neil Walter. Drew, I'll turn the time over to you for staff.
Okay, applicant seeking to amend the general plan as stated on the land use map. The requested area covers 18.21 acres. The current land use designation is very low density residential. The applicant is proposing and seeking to have the land use designation changed to the low density residential for the possibility to develop the area into a future residential project. The surrounding general land uses designations are very low density to the north, east, and west, and low density residential to the south. As stated above, the applicant wishes to amend this for a future residential development. And again, this is in conjunction with other parts of the Snow property. The piece you just looked at is the medium high, and then the piece on Washington Fields Road, the commercial. So it's all owned by the same family wishing to do this entire project in these three different uses. The low density residential category carries the zoning of R110 and R112 zoning districts. Staff has reviewed the requested change, finds that we have no problem with the request from very low density to the low density, just based on the simple fact of the busyness of the intersection on the east end of the entire property owned by the Snow family, of that intersection and the busyness that it is and will continue to be. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of G-21-03 to amend the general plan land use from the current very low density to the proposed low density residential designation. And that is as outlined above and shown in your exhibits. And that would be on to the City Council. I'll be glad to answer any questions the commissioners might have on this general plan amendment proposal.
I'm going to throw another curveball here and open this up to a public hearing. If anybody would like to make a comment on this particular item in the chambers, please come forward.
Commissioners, my name is Neil Walter. I'll just note that I'm here to answer any questions about this application if you have any.
Awesome. Thanks, Neil. Is anybody else? If not, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing on item 8B.
This Shield, I would propose that we close the public hearing.
Anderson, I second.
Got a first and second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That closes the public hearing on item 8B. I'll open this up now to commissioners for any questions or comments for staff or the applicant here tonight.
So along the western side of this proposal, so where 300 East is, that's a dirt road now. Is that not right, Brandon? Isn't it dirt? Oh,
It is.
okay. So that'll extend up to the top of their property.
Correct.
And then you have the LDS Church owns a little bit of property just to the north of that.
Correct. You can see where it's paved up to right there in the Stamson Estates.
So there's going to be just that short section of 300 East. Oh, is that paved? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's paved all the way down here.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
That's fine. So it's going to make that road all paved all the way through.
That'll
Great.
That'll continue.
Okay, that was my question. I didn't realize that they had paved that other little bitty section right there.
Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. I just want to confirm one thing. I believe I heard you say correctly, or say in the south of this where Stonehenge is located, they're zoned R110 or R112 as well. So this would match what Stonehenge.
R115.
Is that correct?
R115.
No, the general plan designation down there is low density already, but the zoning in Stonehenge is R115.
Okay.
But the general plan is a low density.
This is just another step.
All right.
It's in between. No, it's in between Stonehenge and then up to the north.
Commissioners, any other questions for staff? If not, I look for a motion on this item, 8B.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I make a motion that we recommend approval and move on to city council for G-21-03, a request to amend the general plan land use map in the area located approximately 500 east, 3650 south from the currently very low density residential designation to a new proposed low density residential general plan use designation.
This Shield, I'd second that.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. I have a second by Commissioner Shield. Individual voting, Commissioner Fitzampu,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Commissioner Musso,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion 8 passes unanimously. For 8B will be forwarded on to city council with a recommendation for approval. Commissioners, is there anything else that needs to be brought up this evening to staff at this time? If not, I thank all of you for coming.
Hey, Commissioner Hanson,
Yes, sir.
could I just have you guys hang there for a second? Let me come in and talk to you real briefly before you close your meeting out. Just about something I promised I told the city manager I would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just give me 2 minutes to get in there.
Perfect. And for the record, Brandon, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We beat the snot out of you tonight. Thank you all for coming. Kathy, thank you for all that you do as well.
Brandon, I hope you come back.
I hope they build a road.
Okay, as many of you know, April 10th is a big day in the state of Utah for a lot of people, or in one way or another. No, it's the mask mandate ending.
Oh,
You know, and so I was asked by the city manager, you know, just to see how you guys wanted to make transitions into this. The phase hasn't changed, but if the numbers, you know, they're hoping probably within the next couple of weeks, if the numbers hit right, we're going to go from the moderate down to the low category of the pandemic thing in the state. But we talked about how we want to make those transitions back into the old normal. But I said that I would
kind of let some of that be on you, how you want to still do your meetings. You know, how you feel comfortable, even though, because the pandemic is still the pandemic, whatever category. So, and I think you should feel comfortable how you kind of do your meetings, you know, but we can, you know, right now people are supposed to be wearing their mask in here and keeping the 6 foot. Like I say, I came running in, forgot mine, so slapped my hand because I should have been. But so that we're going to kind of leave that with you, because come the 10th, by the time your next meeting, that will have changed. Now, some counties can do, well, Salt Lake County always tries to do whatever Salt Lake wants to do. And Salt Lake City, they're the two notorious just mavericks in the state, because, you know, it's like we used to say down in Arizona, Maricopa County was a state of Maricopa, and then there's the state of Arizona. And it wasn't too far from a joke to being absolute seriousness if you know Arizona real well. And that's almost what I'm starting to see in Salt Lake and Salt Lake City. It's the state of Salt Lake County and Salt Lake City versus the state of Utah. But I wanted to see what, you know, how you felt, if you want to have just a quick discussion on if you want to just keep status quo, and we can still have people do that, I think, for a while. Because again, it is your meeting in sense, you know, it's like if I'm going to Target, I have to follow Target's rules. But I think, you know, for you guys to feel comfortable in what you do, how you want to do it, or, you know, if you want to let more people in, or if you want to keep to the chairs like they are. So I'm just opening it up to whatever you think. Just take a few minutes to give your opinions. It does. It does. It's not a guarantee on, I mean, but that's why I want you to feel comfortable in what you do.
Yeah.
And you need to, you know, feel comfortable in how you do it. That's how I felt, you know, and so I'm just asking for how you think you want to proceed your meetings, because we'll have to, you know, we'll just change the agenda, because right now it says every time it's a limit of 20 people, it's masked, it's this to, you know, come. We can change that. If you want to say you're not concerned about the mask, then that's up to you guys. You know, the distance will then fall into under those other things that they won't really have much restrictions on. Or you could say, okay, we'll let, you know, instead of 6 foot being the gap, we'll, or at least let chairs be doubled up at every 6 foot, you know, without question, instead of saying every, you know, right now, if we pull people together, they have to pull it from an X, and that gives up a spot. We could put a double chair at every X, you know, if you wanted, but it had, you know, and they can, if they want to sit next to each other, that's totally up to them. If it's couples, again, that's totally up to them. But if it's friends, you know, then they can feel however they want to do that. But again, I wanted you guys to have some input on that.
Does the mandate lift go for, I know, didn't the governor say that some things that the state capitol still had to wear all their stuff, all the state buildings, but we won't fall in that because we're a city, or how does that work
I
out?
don't think it falls under all, I think it, I don't know, and I'm gonna have to look at that, but I don't, since this is a meeting that's, the change is starting to happen, and the moderate down the low can happen from right now, it can happen at any day, because they just have to hit 2 out of 3 of the categories. And our area is getting close to that.
Right.
You know, it's X amount of numbers within your county, you know, so many people in the hospital, X amount within your county. And then the third one, I can't remember what it was. You know, I think it might be the number of the people that have it in your given ratio of population. So, and we're real close on all 3 of them. Well, the hospital one's the highest one for us right now.
Well, okay, so if we did go back, would you be in here? Would Kathy be in here? Like
We're
normal?
trying to keep staff out
Is gonna
unless.
keep the staff out, or is that something that you guys will decide what you want to do?
I think we'll kind of decide for us as well.
Okay.
Mhm. And I don't have, and well, good. That's why if I face this way, most people can't see it. But no, I felt for a while, and I don't know how quick I could throw it together, but I've felt like, improving our city council anyway, because after this Zoom thing has come, for me, you know, I used to stand up here on every project, and I didn't really have a lot of, I had my iPad and I could do certain things, but after doing the Zoom thing, I think what I do has increased a lot, just being able to sit at a computer and do stuff on here that you see happening, and I can draw attention to those things. And a lot of people have made comment. It's really helped them. People who had the old and seen the new, they really liked the enhance of, oh man, yeah, I can see now he's gone around the area they're talking about. Instead of going, Is that north? So I've thought about maybe doing an extension of how fast I can get it done, but all the, the wiring's all right here. Our IT guys or IS, whatever they call themselves this week. Sorry, guys, I know you're listening. But the wiring's all here for that. And I think I'd like to actually do an extension off of here, to be honest with you, and make it where I could at least have 2 staff members sit over here and be able to plug in. And then I would be here and you could all see me from right there. And I could still find the way to use the electronics to enhance because you notice we added 2 more TVs, and just so people can kind of follow that and see what's happening with the exhibits. So I'm trying to move there, even though I'd love to stay in my office. I mean, it is a lot more comfortable. Right now, I wonder if what's going to be thrown into my back on a given night. Every once in a while, my eyes shift. It's like I got great peripheral vision. Sometimes that's not good because I see things like, oh, no, I guess that was. Yeah.
I think after the 10th, I think that people can be responsible for their own health. I mean, I think we should go back to normal. I mean, and the only restriction we say, if you're sick, don't come.
Don't come.
But I think beyond that, I think people can be responsible for their own health.
And you feel secure enough up here. And I want you all to feel that way. You feel, because we can, and I can even start the chairs a little farther back. If that helps, we can put more people in, but just keep them a little farther from you. During the pandemic, yeah.
So, well, and that's what I mean by people can take responsibility.
But you need to feel comfortable too coming here because of what, you're here every week. They're just here for a particular item, except for these good people who come all the time because this is entertainment for them. This is their date night. It is, and they enjoy it.
We should probably let them decide.
But for most people, they're just coming here on that one item. But tonight you had the stated because they were all bam, 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 3 of them. So you had the same people, but that's a anomaly to standard normal stuff. But I want everybody here to feel safe, to a distance as well. I just want to bring it up to you and, but you guys, and we could start a distance, back farther if you felt and open up more, or, Van, you say you're okay with doubling, going from 20, we actually fit 22 in here, the way the 6-foot rule has been. We could go to 44 then, if you're okay with that.
I'd like to see some sort of a presence with the chairs out there, however you guys decide, that people still understand when they see it visually that we're still in the middle of something.
Yeah, we still have a pandemic going on.
Yeah, but it's more than it is now.
We still need to keep that visual, and that's sometimes what does that. Oh yeah, we still do have some circumstances, it is. And well, to be honest with you, since we've been like this, even, at the council meetings, the room's never been maxed out. We had one night that I think it got close to it. If I would have counted heads, it might have been 23 or 24 on one night, but that was our worst thing. Well, you took the words. It was the Coral Canyon night, but there was 2 other things on there too. But that brought half of them, and that was fine. But I was expecting a ton more. That night we heard that we were going to have to do the exchange of 20, and then, okay, you folks gave your comments. Now let your neighbors come in. I thought we were going to have to pull that for the first time, doing a clean out the room, bring in the next group, clean out the room, bring in that, but it worked out just right where they had a good voice showed up for all the but I still think we only had 24 people in here at one point, and 2 of those were city staff. So on a city council, that was a city manager, I think, and I had the finance guy stayed in here. Brian stayed. No, Mike was staying out. So, okay. Are you guys worried about mask or not masked? If they're this far away from you, I guess. Okay, you wear yours then. Okay. And I just want to get how you feel, because I'm not sure the council's going to have how they're going to do it. I think they're going to open everything right up, knowing them like I do, but that's their decision. They can do that. But I just wanted you guys to feel you could do what you feel comfortable, because you need to feel comfortable in doing it. And that's why, I know that Van has that.
Be open up, but anyone is welcome to wear a mask if they want.
That's right.
Social distance if they want. I
Yeah.
have no problem.
But I think what I'll do then is I'll go to the double and I'll put 2 chairs at every X and still kind of help keep joined together.
Everyone's just gonna sit together. I don't think the chair thing really matters.
I know, but I mean, we should have been. In fact, I tried to be, but I didn't get the support. Like I felt like I'm going to be honest. I thought that was the mandate at the time, and I thought we should be setting an example. But I didn't have, they were sliding chairs all over, and I wanted to say, hey, no, because really the rule was 6 feet, period, and a mask. I mean. And if it was a couple, I didn't have any issues, but there were lots of times, like you said, I know there were people coming in who were a group because they're here for an item that, like some of the developers, people who are the applicants, I know they're not family. They're all working together as an engineer and they sat right. But again, that's their thing. But I just, I wasn't going to come in with the whip and move them. But I just thought we should have been a little bit more in the beginning. Since we did open up, let people back, we should have made people toe that line and left it's a husband and wife. That's one I didn't really, just, well, I told you it's going to be a 2-person table and we're going to put our hazmat suit and sit side by side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plexiglass from the ceiling down and.
Born to be a politician, my friend. You sidestep.
Drew?
Oh, the voice from, yes, Kathy.
Are we still keeping the public comment area online? And
As of right now, yes, we are.
okay,
Yeah, that's still we're gonna open it up on Friday, and do that.
I like that.
Well, the reason I like doing that because then people can't come and just say, the only chance I have is to show up on that Wednesday night or just that time. And this way we tell them, hey, our city allows you 5 days. And you can sit and contemplate and and again, that 500 words, I'd rather them write it out well thought instead of sometimes shoot from the hip up here because sometimes it's hard on you and them that they're flustered and worried about trying to get it all in. But when they have 5 days to, actually it becomes 4 because we shut it off at Tuesday so that we can still send you out.
I don't like when they read the online comments here after we've already read.
Well, I know it was hard on you, but we were getting it on the public record, we felt like, and then they changed that up where we didn't have to do that. We could use the written and put it on that way. So that's why we changed that. But at one point they didn't ever talk about that. So our interpretation through our attorney said, well, we better read them. Then we can say it was in the meeting read, your words were read and your comment was on the airways because that's what people felt they still are.
Well, I know we read it in. I'm saying when we read it in and then they repeat it again.
That is, and I would tell people, don't do that because I told them all that does is frustrate a planning commission and city council. So if, you think you're going to hit them, so they're really going to get your message. No, what it does is turn them off a little bit. I've been doing this for 27 years and I tell them, I've learned in fact, I coach people when they come in for a public hearing, what not to do for you guys. It's not that I'm trying to, but I just tell them after a while, folks, and you keep doing this, this, and this, they'll just sit you and they're going to get, I said, I promise you, start looking at their eyes. It'll start going a little bit glazed because they've tuned you out because of you keep just, and it's not helpful. You think you're getting your point across and all it does subconsciously for all of us, we just slowly start turning internally the volume and we start looking at the corners of the ceiling and why they're up there doing the double take or falling asleep like commission chairperson here.
In that same vein, I had a question I want to ask you about procedure. When as a chair, when I'm closing a public comment or
public hearing,
instead of looking for a motion in a second, can we just say so moved? I look for a motion to close the public hearing and somebody say so moved and then we're done.
And well, you got to second it. Yeah. If you say I'm looking for someone, you could they could just say so moved. You've stated what it is. They moved it and it was seconded. I think that's fine to do that in that case.
Time on this is a lot of, and that's why I said finally, all in favor, all opposed.
Well, and you got 4 guys up here kind of shy to make motions because we've got it screwed.
Yeah, it's fine, guys. Keep cracking.
You were a little bit more eloquent than we were.
No way.
You write stuff down and then say it.
Oh,
Going somewhere that he wants to go with
I don't
you
know
because
about
he's
that.
buttering you
I
up
don't know.
pretty good right now.
you want the chair, man. Here. Anyway, I'm just trying to save time. That's all. Because
Off the record. Walter have a proposal?
I don't think he has anybody on. I haven't heard of any. Now I've seen a plan, but I can't give that to you. You guys can't see that. Just and I'm really comfortable right now. Things proceed forward that way, but there is nobody that I know that has contacted them or any contracts that I'm aware of. So
does the city have a concern about the way that Staley Farm is operating as a commercial piece when it's a farm? All right. Another time we'll ask about that. I thought it was a very valid point brought up in the meeting.
that's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, just call and say, hey, and just call them as Joe's citizen, to be honest with you, because you are citizens as well.
I think that intersection came up a lot tonight, and I think that that really is important for us to think about that long term, because of that'll probably be one of the heavier pieces of commercial in our city for, and that was, I guess that was my only point of what I was trying to say earlier, is that's the smallest piece that we were talking about. And if this is going to be a big intersection of commercial, be a little more aware of what we're trying to build, starting from the first block. Anyway, you know that.
Yeah. And you guys will see most of that anyway, because anything over 5,000 square foot building requires a conditional use permit. And I think the Fields Road might be one of the main roads we might have put. I think I had that amended, maybe not. I call it, well, maybe I didn't. But most of those buildings are 5,000 square feet or bigger, so they fall under that and come to you anyway. So,
all right.
You'll get to see it. Yeah. Please do.
All right. At this point, I would like to look for motion to close the meeting this evening.
Make a motion to close. So moved. Done.
And second,
I'll move. There you go.
all right. Meeting's closed. Thank you.
Okay.
Eldon, thanks.
You guys have got to get a better date. This is
You got to city council too?
We got a week off.